The PodAskew Podcast is a proud member of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's a Nerd
and Nerdette
from the Voice of Misery podcast. If you want a show that's about pretty much anything, it's a variety show about life, love, mental health, the pursuit of happiness, and a ton of different interviews going from Karen Parsons to Ava Devine and other various adult film stars to just random people on the street that I think are interesting. You should give us a shot. Voices of Misery podcast. Voicesofmisery.podbean.com, at Voices of Misery on Twitter, and Voices of Misery anywhere you can find your favorite podcast. Give us a shot if you're not easily offended.
Welcome everybody to the PodAskew Podcast. I am CJ, and with me as always is my hetero life mate, Rico. What's up, man?
What's up, dude? Hey.
Hey! Yeah, coming off your New Year's celebration, huh, man?
Hey.
Dude, it was a fun night, and it was fun being the slightly sober one this time.
For once.
You know what, though? I see a pattern forming. So next year, Steph's got to get all fucked up, and we stay sober.
Oh, my God. Are you sure?
No.
Okay. I mean, not to go too much into it, but, like, Steph is very
emotional?
friendly.
Oh, friendly.
She's like, when we've gone to bars together, I mean, they know us at the bars we go to, and then, like, she'll want to hug everybody.
Ah, gotcha.
And then she's like, one night we were leaving, and I was sober. I was the designated driver. I had like one drink, and she was just like hugging and saying goodbye to everybody, including people that we didn't know. Just winning up and go, bye, we're leaving. They're like, all right, you're doing good. She's like, yeah, we're going to go. We're
funny.
Going home. And I'm like, no, we're getting Jack in the Box for your fucking ass first.
Well, that's what she got for you on New Year's, if I understand correctly.
That's absolutely true. She got me Jack in the Box. The difference was I wasn't in the car with her acting like a dumbass she was the last time she got drunk, and I had to get her Jack in the Box. I'm
aware of that because I called her to check on you when I got your text about puking. So,
yeah, there's different levels of drunken pukes.
Yes, there are.
Wine is the one that scares me because I'm like, my first reaction is like, oh my God, I'm bleeding. Oh no.
Yeah, right. Wine. I've never puked wine, but I can imagine that's what that would be like. Yeah. So.
It's hard. It is not friendly.
Yeah. So,
anyways.
Well, I'm glad you had a good New Year's Eve at least, and it was a fun episode, dude. We had a good time, and I can't wait for you to hear the finished version because it came out pretty good, I think.
Well, I think I actually technically slept through New Year's because, like, we celebrated your New Year's, and then by then it was like 10 o'clock, 10:30 my time.
Right.
And then I vomited, passed out, woke up at 2:30 in the morning, being like, it's 2020.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Well, then maybe next year we both stay sober. What do you think?
We'll see.
Yeah. So. Let's, we have a topic for tonight, and we have a guest coming on, but before we get there, there's one other thing I wanted to do. First and foremost, to Jay and everyone in Australia, our thoughts are with you guys 100% with all the fires and everything that's going on down there. I've been keeping tabs on as best I can from America, especially because we know Jay, but I also have some friends down there that aren't Jay, some other shows I listen to and so forth, and so I'm trying to keep my tabs on people, and thoughts and prayers to everybody out there, because that's just, I mean, you go through it out there in California, but I don't think it's to this level.
Yeah, we are shake and bake is what we call it.
Right. I mean, they're just on fire. Like, it's just, you know.
It is really bad. And I would like to apologize because a couple of weeks back I didn't know. It was like the one couple days I had missed the news.
Sure.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on in Australia? And you're like, oh, you don't know. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And it's gotten much worse since then. So
it's gotten very bad. Obviously our hearts go out to not only just the population, the people of Australia, but like the animals. That's also just as heartbreaking as fucking kangaroos and koalas like are being killed and burned alive and they're dying of thirst. That's the one I've understood the biggest killer is that they're all just dying of thirst.
Yeah, it's crazy. And shout out to local girl from my end, Pink, for donating $500,000 to the cause to help this. So that's pretty awesome.
Good for you.
Quick update. I'm not going to give any specific names, but several people that Jay knows have been affected by this. I will just say that everyone's alive and well, which is the important thing. So, but our thoughts are with everybody that are down there, people we know, people we don't know, and to Rico's point, the animals and wildlife. As much shit as you give them about their creatures, none of them should be dying. So,
I mean, I don't mind if the spiders die, to be perfectly honest.
Okay, well, there you go. On a positive note for Jay, apparently someone loved the letter she wrote to us so much about the PodAskew piss-up party that a member of the Eddie Pence fan club has actually reached out to her to pen something. So I don't know specifically about what they wanted to write, but they were that impressed with what she said to us that they want her to write for them now. So,
but she should call herself now.
What's that?
Pence pal.
Oh, look at that! I like it. But yeah, so hopefully that works out for her. I hope she does it. I hope that between that and the conversation we had with Smoke last week and everything inspires her to really start like writing, because I think she's got real talent and I would love to read more of it. So,
it's fun to read too.
It totally is.
It's not only is it a good read, but it's fun to read. And for me, when I'm usually reading them, I'm usually kind of going in blind. Maybe I've read it just one time, but it's still spontaneous and still funny. That's what's fun about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I try to read it at least once just to have a general concept of what's coming, but I don't practice, for that same reason. So yeah, But all right, let's get our guest on and we'll get into the real reason why we're together this week. So let's bring him in. Okay, so our guest is here with us, and we haven't spoken to this guy in a while, but he did make an appearance last week on our 2019 blooper reel. The newly aerodynamic Chris Kim, the Green Korean. How are you, buddy?
Hey, who talks first? I talk first? You talk first?
Nice. Nicely done.
It's been a while, man. How you guys doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. You know what? I should have opened with yep, still holding for Hux.
Yeah. Oh, man. It was crazy.
You know what I realized is that when I rewatched it with subtitles, he's actually calling them hugs.
Did it say that, or did
it says I'm holding for general hugs, like hugs and kisses, hugs.
Do you think that's just
awesome?
A fuck up though in the subtitles? Because that happens sometimes.
No. I mean, from what Poe is like, I would imagine he's calling them hugs.
Yeah,
oh my
that's
God.
True.
That movie just earned back half a star for me. I'll give it 3.5 stars now, just for hugs.
Just for hugs. So, well, how you been, man? What's going on?
Doing excellent, yeah. Shaved my head. That's new.
Yeah.
Been to Vegas a whole bunch. That's new.
No, that's not new. That's not new at all.
Is it only new because you've never shaved your head before?
Yeah, I never shaved my head before. I just was wanting to do it for the longest time, but I didn't want to freak out all the relatives over the holidays, so I figured I'd wait, cruise past Christmas, and then shave my head so that way I don't got to see anybody for another couple months. So that way, if this is a really bad idea, I could grow it back some.
Well,
the good news is for certain people, not always, but it does tend to grow back.
Right, yeah. So I figured, now's a safe time to do it, in the warm winter of California.
Yeah. Well, I would say the important part would be your wife, though. Does she like it?
Yeah, she's cool with it. She don't care what I do.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, I mean, of course, you're never home anyway. You're always in fucking Vegas.
She's probably already used to him being a giant dickhead.
Oh! Oh, shit! Now we know why he hasn't been on the show in like 6 months.
Oh, now it's gonna be all right. Let me step up my game. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go, motherfucker.
Rise of Green Korean.
I think we just came up with a title for the episode. That aside, that is a good reference to what we're here about. We have all seen the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. And since, Chris, you were with us for the trailer discussion, the 40-minute trailer discussion, I figured it made sense to have you back for the actual movie discussion. So here we are, and we're going to talk about Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, man, I've been itching to talk about this movie with somebody for the longest time. This is so awesome.
It's only been out for, 10 days or something, right?
Like 3 weeks almost. 2.5 weeks, because it came out Thursday night, technically. But yeah, still.
No, it hasn't been that long, has it?
It was December 20th is when it came out.
Okay, so it's... Yeah, today's the 5th, so it's 9... It's 15 days. 16 days, okay. 2 weeks.
All right. So let's break it. Let's get into it, man.
Well, wait. Before we start, can each one of you, including myself, say you liked it or you didn't like it. CJ, you go first.
No, let's let the guests go first. Go ahead, Chris.
Man, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, buddy. I think, and I believe I said this on the trailer discussion, but if anyone was going to save this after what happened with The Last Jedi, it was J.J. Abrams, and it's exactly what he did. He totally salvaged what this trilogy was.
Well, what did you think, Rico?
I liked it, and I was certainly satisfied. There are some things that I would have changed or expanded upon, and we'll get to those when we get to them. Yeah. But am I happy? I think I'm sort of torn because this is a satisfying conclusion to a trilogy, but a satisfying conclusion to all the Star Wars movies. It's okay. It's if it ended the way Last Jedi was going, I would have been more upset. I'm satisfied with the ending that we have now. I still think it's kind of like I half expect Disney to be like, oh, well, it's not really the end of Skywalker because now here's another trilogy of fucking blah, blah, blah. I'm half expecting them to kind of run the franchise a little bit deeper as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, I know that Rey and Poe and Finn, the actors who play them, and their names, 2 of them escape me on it, or one of them escapes me. I know Daisy Ridley and Oscar Isaacs, and I have to be careful to say that after fucking...
Finn is played by John Boyega.
Thank you. I did know it, but I just couldn't think of it. They have all said they're not coming back for anything. So
yeah, wait 30 fucking years. They'll be the old original trilogy again.
Well, yeah, I mean, they all say they're not coming back, but then they drop the back up the Brinks truck, and then boom, there it is. There's Harrison Ford in another Star Wars movie.
Well, I mean, that's certainly a possibility, but I think the point was that there's not going to be a fourth, in the next 3 to 5 years where you have those 3 characters coming back. Right. But yeah, I mean, like you said, you back a big enough money truck up to any of them, I'm sure they show up. But yeah. Let's get into this though. Let's get into. I kind of want to start with the Leia stuff, to be honest with you, but I don't know if that's the right place to go. So, your thoughts?
I kind of want to touch on something that Rico said that it made me think of. How you were saying that this is a good ending of the trilogy, but not necessarily the greatest ending for a 9-movie saga. And I kind of blame Kathleen Kennedy for the whole mess that 7, 8, and 9 were. Because you need somebody who's going to see the movie through. You need your, what's his name? The Marvel dude.
Kevin Feige.
Yeah, you need your Feige that's going to connect the threads and work with the directors to carry one cohesive story over. And that was her job. And I felt like she just gave reins to each director. Therefore, you saw a good beginning, a totally, off the tracks middle, and then a back to connecting the story at the end. And I think she should have given them the directive of, look, we're going to try to wrap up the whole Skywalker saga over these 3 movies instead of having to give it that feel in just the last movie. I felt like they saw how well Endgame did and they said, oh, we better, capitalize on that and make this the end of the 9-movie saga, which I think they kind of rushed it, to be honest.
I don't know about rushing it, but to your point real quick, Chris, just to jump in, it's been talked about that Kevin Feige is taking over the reins to the Star Wars universe going forward. So,
not to that degree. He is going to be a consultant.
Right. Involvement.
Well, yes, but Kevin Feige consulting is still an improvement.
That doesn't mean Kathleen Kennedy is fired and he's taking over.
No, I wasn't saying that.
I'm just clarifying that because it did kind of sound like he's
fair.
going to be the new one. Chris, I do tend to agree with you. And my biggest evidence, because Disney and Kathleen Kennedy have both said, oh, well, we kind of more or less had a plan of where we knew it was going to go from the very beginning. And my argument was, well, if you had a fucking plan, how come you fired everybody half the time? How come there was obviously a tone of vision? Why did Colin Trevorrow get fired? Why did the guys who did?
Wait a minute. Sorry, Rico, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to bring this up anyway.
Let a Wookiee in here?
What?
I said somebody let a Wookiee in here?
Yeah.
Sound like Wookiee.
But if in the credits, because I stayed for a lot of the credits until I texted you and asked if there was a post-credit scene, and you said no, and I just said fuck it and left. But Colin Trevorrow actually gets a writing credit on this movie. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see that. It was probably like a story credit or something.
It was, yeah. It's story by, and I think it was JJ and Colin, if I read it right.
But Colin was shit-canned because of his unenthusiastic reaction to what Rian Johnson did, that he basically was like, what the fuck did you do to Snoke? What the fuck did you do to Luke? What you're taking away all of my action figures. I have nothing to play with. And also, not to mention Carrie Fisher's unfortunate passing did complicate shit as well.
Yeah.
But, and I will give her credit. She, despite the fact that she basically filmed no original scenes for this movie, she was amazing. I felt like that was more of a satisfactory ending for Leia than maybe the whole franchise on a whole. I thought they did her story with the best capabilities that they had, as well as they did.
Well, and let's touch on that for a minute, because I want to talk about that, because I know they said that they didn't do any digital editing, like just bringing her in or anything like that, but the dialogue that she spoke, for it to be fair or spare footage from the past 2 movies and the settings just seemed too perfect to not be coerced in some way post-production.
I didn't really. Again, I'm going to try and see it again in a couple days, and I'm going to try and go into it thinking that. But when I first saw it, because it's Star Wars, and every first viewing of Star Wars is, oh my god, it's Star Wars. You're not really focusing on.
Sure.
I wonder if Leia was. I wonder if Carrie Fisher said this line, or if I wonder if they digitally manipulated some old lines and, whatever, blah, 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 blah. They got an impersonator, yada, yada, yada. If Mark Hamill impersonated Carrie Fisher.
I doubt that. I doubt that one.
He does a very good Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Chris,
I don't know.
what do you...
I kind of felt like it was worked in a little bit. Like I felt like it wasn't seamless, but it was forgivable given what they had to work with.
Oh, I felt like it was pretty seamless, and that's why I'm questioning whether or not it was like legit in then that they said that they didn't manipulate anything, you know?
It wasn't a lot either. She only has, I mean, I don't know the exact amount, but I'm going to say she probably only has like maybe 10 to 12 lines of actual dialogue.
I don't know.
Because, I mean, she's kind of like, when she's not, spoilers, and for those, again, little warning, for those who haven't seen it, you know, we're spoiling the fuck out of it.
Yeah, stop listening.
Because Leia's either doing one of three things. She's looking at Rey, she's thinking about Kylo, or she's dead under a sheet. That's what she's doing. She's not doing, apart from one flashback, she's not really doing much. So the camera is really focusing on her looking sad, which they could have gotten from the same footage of when she senses Han was killed, or when Kylo's about to fucking not shoot her in his, like, you know, spinning is a good trick ship. So,
well, see, and Chris, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you if you wanted to say something, but just very quickly, there were a couple shots where she is doing things, but the angle is from behind her. You know what I mean? So, like, that could have been stand-ins. Like, she falls down onto, like, the bed or the bench or something at one point and drops, like, those dice that seem to be, like, infinitely important to the Star Wars universe now. You know, and you know, and then also when she's laying under the sheet, that could have been anybody laying under that sheet that's the same height.
Obviously.
Yeah, right. You know, no, I know. I'm not nitpicking, but I'm just saying, like, so there were ways that they, I don't know. I don't feel like JJ lied to us on purpose, but I don't feel like he was as genuine as he said in terms of that they didn't use anything but old footage. I'm sorry. I just don't buy it.
I think he did, and I mean, you know, Billy Lord, her daughter, did stand in for Carrie Fisher for, you know, the behind, you know, when you're looking at the back of her head, that's, you know, Billy, not Carrie.
Okay.
I just kind of felt like, you know, they had certain lines that they had to write around and make the other actors fit to what Carrie Fisher was saying. And for the most part, it worked. And again, it pulled me out of the scene while watching it, knowing that that was happening. But there was one odd one when Grunberg's character comes up and says something kind of downbeat, and she says, "Don't say it like that." And then he has to repeat the line, but in a very upbeat manner. And it just seemed like a really out of place scene that I feel like it was manipulated just so we could get a little more Carrie Fisher into this movie.
Agreed. I would even go as far as to say that, like, they researched every bit of footage that they had of Carrie, and they said, how do we insert this somehow into this movie? Yeah. And maybe she was, like, you know, chastising another actor, be like, don't say it like that.
Yeah,
like, and then they're like basically saying, like, act better. And let's put that in the movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
for all we know was that Glenn Grunberg, for all we know.
But that does happen sometimes. Like, real quick, just to take us out of Star Wars, but in Spider-Man Homecoming, in Captain America Civil War, when Tony's meeting Spider-Man for the first time, and they're in his bedroom, and he goes to sit down, and he goes, "Move the leg, I'm gonna sit there." That wasn't in the script. Tom Holland was supposed to move his leg, and he didn't, and that was Robert Downey saying to him in character, "Move your leg, I gotta sit down now." And they kept it because it played so well.
But there's a difference between an improv or ad-lib line and filming a rehearsal and putting the filmed rehearsal into the movie.
Well, hell, we fucking did that with Batman Alone, so I don't know that we can really say a whole lot.
See what I'm saying? I mean, but like for example, when we did Batman Alone, I think there was only like one ad lib, and I think it was from me, where instead of, as the Joker saying the same shit, instead of saying Batman, I called him Batsy. Like, that was a slight ad lib.
Yeah.
But because it's different when you're doing it on a camera, or when you're doing it through a microphone and audio. But back to Star Wars. Let's go from Batman to Star Wars. I did for 1 minute think the flashback was a bit that was a bit jarring. It didn't look like young Mark Hamill and young. You know what it looked like? It looked like the head in Empire Strikes Back in the Vader helmet that Luke looked at.
Yeah. Yep.
It just looked like they took that head and just because he didn't look like very young Mark Hamill did much. Same with Carrie Fisher. They had them move, but they didn't have them say anything or really move their eyes. They were just kind of staring at each other.
Well, Chris, to your point, I'll bet you that was Billy Lord. That had to be her. There's no way that was Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill.
Yeah. For sure. Those were stand-in actors behind the masks. But, I mean, and I just wanted to throw in, we are nitpicking for fun. Now, we enjoyed this movie, but this is what Star Wars people do, and they break shit down.
Forget that. That's what PodAskew does. I mean, come on. So...
But yeah, overall, it was all forgivable because of the overall enjoyable experience of the movie.
Agreed. Right. Yeah. Real quick, Chris, to come off topic completely for a second, since we referenced it, did you hear Batman Alone?
I did not. I kind of ducked down with my head in the sand for a while, and I haven't listened to a lot of podcasts lately.
But that's okay. We knew we lost you when his dog started farting on air. We knew we lost you then. We figured
I just bailed. I pretty much kept up with maybe 3 or 4 podcasts, and those were just news podcasts because I want to know what's going on in the world. Yeah. But in terms of entertainment, I just kind of,
So me complaining about Sugar's fart turned you off a podcast? That's how bad it was? I mean, I know how bad it was, but that's how bad it was for you as a listener?
Wow. Oh, it turned me off. I stopped listening to all podcasts. I stopped going to movies. I stopped reading books. I pretty much just, I needed to float in my hyperbolic chamber for a while to really get over it. To recenter myself.
You killed him.
Sugar, this is all your fault. You know what you did.
Anyway, but getting back to if you get the chance, Chris, check it out because I think you would actually really enjoy it. All kidding aside, I think you would like that episode a lot. But anyway, cool. So yeah, you talked about the amount of screen time she got, Rico, and that actually leads to another topic I kind of wanted to talk about because you and I, before I saw the movie, had a very brief spoiler-free conversation, and your biggest complaint to me at that point, because you didn't want to spoil anything for me, which I appreciate, was the lack of use of Rose in the movie. And after seeing the movie, you and I have a disagreement about how she was used. So before we get into our stuff, Chris, I know you kind of had a problem with the way she was used in The Last Jedi, among many other things. What were your thoughts about Rose in this one, all Twitter jokes aside?
I think she's the amount of screen time that she got was fine. There are, if you look at the history of the original trilogy, good characters were introduced and people fell in love with them, but they didn't have a whole ton of screen time. Boba Fett is one of them. Yep. Lando in Return of the Jedi, he didn't get a lot of screen time. So as far as I'm concerned, this is consistent. And I totally get, the problem that J.J. Abrams had. He needed to wrap up 9 movies and also finish telling the stories of 2 main characters, as well as, a third and a fourth. There just wasn't enough time. And I understand that they shot more footage that they wanted to use, and they just couldn't include it. Otherwise, they'd have a 3-hour movie on their hands. And at the end of the day, people don't go to Star Wars movies to see a Rose movie. They go to see a movie about Rey. So, I mean, I'm totally cool with it.
Except you, apparently. Because I know you watched the Rose cut, apparently. So
Release the Rose cut of the Rose of Skywalker. That's the movie that I need to see. Forget about the J.J. Abrams cut. Let's see the Rose of Skywalker.
Yeah.
But if I can interrupt for 1 second.
Yeah.
Because you're comparing Rose to Boba Fett to Lando. Lando was in 3 movies, including Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Not to mention they had a younger version of his character in a prequel spinoff.
Yeah.
Rose, for what they did to that character, because in Last Jedi, I really liked her character until the end. when I felt like, look, I understand that these are fictional characters. And fictional characters are not always supposed to be perfect. We yell at characters in movies for doing stupid things. Like, well, I wouldn't have done that. Why the fuck did you do that? Because they're not you. It's how they are. That's just what they are. So for someone like Rose to be, this really interesting, fascinating character who is full of grief because her sister, died in admittedly in a very fucking stupid way, but that's beside the point. And then to have this crush on Finn and be like, okay, maybe Finn and Rey aren't going to be a fucking thing. Maybe Rose and Finn. I'm into this. Let's do it. Not that I give a fuck about, who's fucking who in Star Wars. Unless it's Jabba the Hutt and Boba Fett. I would see that weirdness.
Oh, yeah. Let's release that cut.
Oh my god. Okay.
You got Salacious Crumb just sitting there watching.
Oh dear God.
I would love shit out of that. OC should play. OC would be Salacious Crumb.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, but my point was
actually, just because Chris, we haven't talked to you in so long, so I'm sorry to keep derailing things, but they also. Rico and OC hijacked an episode of PodAskew.
Right, I did hear that.
You heard? Did you hear the episode, or did you hear that it had
No, I listened to the episode.
Okay, so you've heard that one. All right.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
So for it to end the way it did, which is her kind of stealing Finn's thunder, crashing into his ship and saying, "This isn't how we win wars, dummy. We win it through love," and kisses him and then passes out. And then like everyone else is like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then for her to have, from what I understand, 1.5 minutes of total screen time in Rise of Skywalker was a bit insulting. Not because I have a personal thing. I'm not Asian. And that's, like I said, I sort of have a love-hate for the character itself. But I felt like whether JJ intended it or not, or Disney intended it or not, or Kathleen Kennedy, it felt like they were responding to a lot of backlash about the actress and the character, which is not the actress's fault. The character is written how the character is written. The actress portrays it how the director is aiming them to portray it. And for them to kind of get reduced to this sort of cameo, I mean, admit it. Spoiler, Han Solo in Rise of Skywalker was more well received and more of a bigger shock than Rise of Skywalker than us looking forward to Rose. Because he's old trilogy.
See, wait, I think you're being a little unfair there. Of course it's going to be a bigger shock. There's no doubt about that. But wait a minute. See, so the conversation, Chris, I want to bring you into this. The conversation Rico and I had prior to me seeing the movie was that he laid it out like Rose got brought on screen, told she wasn't really important, and then you didn't see her again. So when he said she had like 1.5 minutes of screen time or whatever it was, he made it sound like it was all at one chunk. I thought she was
like total screen time. I got that.
Right, well, no, but that's not how he presented it to me originally before I saw the movie. So it made it sound like she had one scene about 1 minute long and then she was gone. I thought she was peppered throughout the movie very well where she was needed.
Yeah, I agree. She didn't do anything.
But she didn't need to do anything. She was just part of the overall adventure. Why did she need to do anything?
I mean, honestly, I think she's just lucky she got to be in this movie.
I kind of have to agree. I mean,
like she was a character that wasn't necessarily pivotal to any of the plot, and she's really not necessary. If you wanted to give Rose a little more love, they could have given her some of the lines that what's his name from Lost had.
Yeah, well, we talked about that too. Like Dominic Monaghan coming out of nowhere was like, where did you? I mean, and I like him, so I have no problem with him being in the movie. But like, where the fuck did you come from?
He's old school JJ. He and JJ are friends from Lost.
I know logistically where he came from. I'm talking from a Star Wars perspective. Like he wasn't in the Force Awakens, he didn't show up in The Last Jedi, and then poof, here he is in, a pivotal, secondary role for...
Well, as the story goes, he was interviewed, and I guess he and JJ had remained friends, and he was begging JJ to put him into Star Wars, because on the set of Lost, that's all they would talk about. They would just hang out and talk Star Wars. So, he knew how crazy Dominic was for Star Wars. So he was begging him to be in this last movie, and I guess JJ said to him during the World Cup, look, if England wins this game, you can be in the movie. And England won by a long shot, and so that's how he got in the movie.
Not to mention Kevin Smith has a small role in it as well.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
he's got to walk by.
Do we know which one he was this time around? Because I didn't catch it.
He was a trooper that just walked by. Or when, that dark, rainy part of wherever the fucking planet they were with Kerry Russell.
Wait, was he...
Not even a trooper. He was like a citizen. He was in a hood, and he was walking with a droid.
Oh, so he was on screen this time, because in The Force Awakens, he's the voice of one of the stormtroopers.
Right. This time he's actually a silent character.
Right. And you don't even see his face, I don't think.
No. Kevin had to point it out. Be like, yep, that's me.
Okay, because I was actually listening to the stormtroopers, intently, trying to see if I could figure out which one, because I thought he was a stormtrooper again.
I was looking for, the other random cameo, oh, is this one Daniel Craig? Is this one Tom Hardy?
Right.
Who's going to be this? It's Kev. Oh, okay.
Right.
But here's going back to Rose for just 1 second. I'm using the example of Lando because Lando was not an original character from 4. He's not from A New Hope. The original family is Luke, Han, Chewie, and Leia, right?
Yeah.
And then Lando becomes part of the crew. You could even throw R2-D2 and C-3PO in there.
Right.
That's the crew. That's the family. That's the gang, the band, whatever. Then Lando becomes part of that. He's not in the Falcon with them when they're doing their shit, but he's piloting the Falcon in Return of the Jedi. He's got a big deal to do to blow up the second Death Star in Jedi.
Wait, are you saying that's his only scene? Because it's not.
No, it's not his only scene, but while everyone else is doing their own shit, while Luke is fighting Vader and the Emperor, and Leia and Han and Chewie are on Endor, and yada, 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 Lando now becomes an important enough character to do shit. I mean, he blows up the second Death Star. And then, why couldn't Rose have just, been that character to be introduced in the second film of a trilogy, become well-reserved, become well-liked, become well-regarded, and then she doesn't have to be in the Falcon doing the mission with Finn and Poe and Rey. She could be doing something else. Maybe not as important, but just something. Because the impression I got is, she's peppered throughout the film in some scenes, maybe 2 or 3, but when they first see her, the majority of the dialogue they give her was, hey, Rose, why aren't you coming with us? Oh, no, dude, Leia told me to, hang out here, so that's what I'm going to do. So, good luck. That's it. That's all we get. It's not, I have to do something really important. Leia's sending me on a mission. And then we kind of periodically follow Rose to do whatever the fuck she's doing. If she's going to fucking go to that planet and let go, free all the weird fucking horse things, which didn't do shit.
I thought she was the assistant or the second hand to Leia. That's how I interpreted her role.
Really didn't, but that's my point is...
Well, because Leia's not really in it for the obvious reasons that Carrie Fisher couldn't be in it the way she was supposed to be.
Right. So you go into a film knowing you're going to have limitations. You expand the other characters to make up for those limitations is what I'm saying. Don't give it to Dominic Monaghan, who, fine, good for him. He's in Star Wars. I'm sure he's happy. With the same amount of dialogue that he said, which was 1 or 2 lines, could have been said by Rose. I will state that I think JJ was just kind of, he made a great movie for as little time as he had. I will give him the fucking credit. And I think no matter what, we are going to fucking be like, well, he didn't do this, so I'm unhappy, but I liked everything else. JJ was going to have a movie where he's going to have he's not going to win 100%. And like I said earlier, there's some things I would have changed. There are some things I would have expanded. I don't really give a fuck that much. I'm not going to ban and boycott Star Wars because Kelly Marie Tran got a cameo. I don't care that much. But in terms of criticism of a film as itself, I felt a little sorry for her. I felt like she gets to watch this movie and be like, all right, there's my scene. Let's go home. Like, that's kind of my impression. Because she was so integral in a weird way to Last Jedi, to just drop her. It would be like Lando being integral to Empire and then having him just have a little walk-on cameo in Return of the Jedi and be like, well, wait, why is Lando fucking off? You know what I'm saying? It felt a little disrespectful.
I guess. Chris, what do you got? Because
but I think that's also part of the inconsistency of switching directors and not having an overall vision for the 3-movie trilogy. Again, going back to Kathleen Kennedy's fault.
Fair.
I think JJ, once he got the reins back, he wanted to make the Star Wars movie that he always wanted to make. I imagine for the first one that he got to make, there was a lot of directive coming down from the Disney overlord saying we need it to be a lot like this, and we need the people to remember what the original trilogy was like. And basically, he was working within the confines of what he had. This time, I felt like he needed to fix a whole bunch of shit, and then also wanted to put in his own shit. And some of the things just got left by the wayside. Yeah, he could have fixed what Kelly Marie Tran had. He could have fixed that. He could have given her a bigger pivotal part, but also he wanted to bring in some of his friends to play with. He wanted to bring in Kerry Russell. He wanted to bring in Dominic Monaghan. So I don't blame him for that. And if Kelly Marie gets a little less screen time, but Kerry Russell gets more screen time, that's just the nature of an actor. You roll with the punches and you do the best with what you're given. So, I mean, again, I don't really feel sorry for her for getting the short shrift, which I agree she did, but she got to be in 2 Star Wars movies. There's nothing to complain about there, and nothing to feel sorry for her about.
Absolutely agree with that. I do agree with that. And again, like you said earlier, we're nitpicking. It's really
fun.
I like the film fine. I mean, I'm really just like, there's another thing that I have more of an issue with as a fan of Star Wars on a whole than I do of, this actress should have gotten more screen time.
Well, and I'm going to let you get to that in a second, but I also have a problem that it occurred to me, because Rico, and you mentioned this several episodes back at this point, that you went through like a Star Wars marathon to prepare for this movie. I didn't go through the full marathon like you did, but I did go back and watch for what I would essentially call key movies throughout the series.
Sure.
And I actually have a problem with, there's a lot of problems with episode 3, but there's this scene in a specific thing that happens in episode 3 with 3PO and R2-D2 that I think affects the whole series, all 9 movies. So, do we want to save that for a little bit later, or do we want to get into that now?
Well, you're putting it out. Can I guess what it is?
Well, sure, but Chris, what are your thoughts? Do we save this for now, or save for later, or do we do it now?
Oh, you go. You do whatever, however you want to roll, man. I'll go with you.
Yeah, but you're just a part of the show too. You're not just sitting on the sidelines, man. We want you to be a part of the conversation. But go ahead, Rico. What was your guess?
My guess is the memory wipe.
Yes. Because wait, before you get to it, here's my thought. Because I just want to tell you what my problem comes from, right?
Okay.
They say, Jimmy Smits's character, who his character name escapes me. What's that?
Bail Organa.
Thank you. Says, wipe the protocol droid's memory. But he never says a damn thing about R2-D2, who can clearly talk to C-3PO. Mm-hmm. So he knows everything they're trying to wipe away from C-3PO and could have easily said it to anyone that understands him. Because clearly Luke understands him too at some point. Like eventually he learns how to speak R2. Well, no, because if at the beginning of A New Hope, he's constantly turning to 3PO and saying, what's he saying? And then by the end of, Return of the Jedi, he can understand him.
But when he's in the cockpit going to,
no, that's a translator.
That's a
right.
thing.
But when he's on Dagobah, he seems to understand him a bit, too. And there's no translator going on there. So, but that's a whole nother debate. regardless of that, he could have said it to 3PO, and 3PO, who does understand him and can speak English, for lack of a better word, because it's not technically, I think it's Corellian or whatever, but... I
think it's Galactic Basic.
Well, whatever, but he speaks it. Could have told the entire goddamn story about who Darth Vader was.
But
they knew it's Anakin.
Do they?
Yes.
Does R2 know that Anakin is Darth Vader?
I'm pretty certain, but even if they don't know that part, well, yes, because they were there. That's why.
R2 did not witness. Look, if we're really doing this, if we're deep cutting, if we're going deep diving, into
even
Star
if
Wars,
they didn't, no, even if they didn't even see it directly, Obi-Wan knows, and you're gonna say he never mentioned it once.
But we're talking about the same Obi-Wan who forgot about R2 in a span of 20 years or 17 years.
Well, that's a whole nother fucking problem, too. But, I mean...
That's my point.
On top of that, the fact that 3PO was created by Anakin. R2 knows that. If he knows nothing else, he knows that.
Okay, but you also have to remember, R2 can be a bit of a dick.
Okay, if we're gonna
go
there,
shaped kind of like a
that's true,
like a stubby tuna can dick.
Yeah,
but yeah, R2. I'll show you the D2.
So, I mean, there's just a lot in Star Wars that you got to go along with to just forget about it, enjoy the movie. This movie, for sure, there are so many moments where it's just like, but what the? But you just go, you know what? Forget it. I'm having a good time.
Right. But we can't do that because we're Star Wars fans.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
we can.
I was watching Avengers, not Endgame, the Infinity War. Is that the one before it?
Yes, yeah. Infinity War.
Yeah. And that movie has so many. Well, why didn't he just... But you just got to let it go. You just got to be like, you know what? It happened. Cool. I get it. This is what's necessary to tell the story. Okay, cool.
Because they are fictional characters. I mean, that's... But... So to your point, CJ, about like why is the memory wiped? Because that's R2 is just kind of an asshole. But for all we know, because C-3PO I think says it, I want to say he says it in Rise of Skywalker, R2's been backing up his memory for C-3PO for years.
Right.
For all we know, he did have a private conversation, be like, look, dude, and I'm paraphrasing R2 here because I can't do all the whistles and chirps, but he's like, listen, fucker. Because it's all beeps, he's definitely swearing. He's like, listen, dude, fucking, you'll never believe this, okay? Darth Vader was a Jedi, and he also created you. And then, blah, 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 circumstance, story. And C-3PO, finally for the first time, he's like, you're fucking kidding me. Like, just like, that's what blows his fucking circuit is R2 tells him the whole story of Star Wars when they're out in the desert. He's just like, when they're out in the desert in episode 4, that's what they were talking about in the escape pod at the opening. That long little journey. They're like, well, all right, we're here. We're going to get to Tatooine in at least 30 minutes. What do you want to talk about? And R2's like, I got a fucking story for you, dude.
How great would it have been if C-3PO had the voice of Samuel L. Jackson?
Right. But to bring it back to this movie, to bring it back to Rise of Skywalker, and what kind of got me this heated about it was the memory wipe that ends up happening in the movie on, I forget the name of that city, but Jiminy or something like that, or whatever the fuck it was called.
Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah. But the where Poe came from, and they're in there and they do this memory wipe so they can get this Sith translation.
I think it's called the Johnny. Does that sound right?
Something like that. Yeah, it's something like that. But that made me think of it. It's like, well, wait a minute. It's the second time he's had his memory wiped.
That we know of.
That we know of, yeah.
I mean, but they had to do it just so C-3PO could have red eyes. So he could look baked as shit.
Well, I think it was actually to make him look like the dark side briefly. But
which I don't know why that's a thing. Like, he's forbidden to speak the Sith language.
You know, that whole part to me felt very contrived.
A little bit.
But I just kind of went along with it because, again, this is the story they want to tell. I think the biggest disappointment is they didn't stick to it. I think once you wipe his memory, you know, they got rid of the stakes of the movie. If you can wipe someone's memory and have something dramatic happen and then, 20 minutes later change it back, that's a real disappointment. Same thing when they got rid of Chewbacca. I thought this movie would have had serious balls if that's how Chewbacca went. But, they undid it.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with you, Chris. Like, I was much like Han, I was sad to see him go, but that would have been ballsy, and to have him survive it was like, oh, okay.
I mean, you got to keep those characters alive, though, because whatever future Star Wars movies you have, you want those characters to be able to come back around because, you don't got to pay them as much as regular actors.
You killed off Han. I mean, like,
but
yes, he appeared. Yes, but it's a vision. He's not there.
He's not a Force Ghost.
But you keep Chewbacca, C-3PO, and R2-D2 alive because that way when you go to Star Tours and you see them there, it's all good. Like, that's why you keep those characters alive.
I think kids would lose their shit if Chewbacca died. I think that would be a big end of their innocence.
But Chewbacca's walking around at Disneyland. Like, how are you going to explain that?
Well, so is Kylo Ren.
Oh, very good point. Oh, wouldn't that be cool if he's not there anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, they
really commit to it.
They had Darth Vader come out. They have Darth Maul come out. Like,
that's a good point. All right.
What does Luke say? No one's really dead.
Yeah.
Speaking of the droids, though, do you guys agree with me that the newest droid was completely useless and unnecessary, except to make toys? I mean,
well, no, because it was J.J. Abrams wanting to be in Star Wars. That's J.J. Abrams' voice.
Okay, but come on.
I thought it was funny, personally.
Well, but what purpose did it serve? Like, BB-8, at least to me, serves a purpose. What purpose did that droid... Well, no, because, like, every main character has that droid that they kind of, like... like Luke had R2 more than anything, right? So, and even though he started off with Poe, BB-8 really is, like, the R2 of this trilogy. So, like, I'm okay with that, but what purpose did this little shit on a wheel serve?
Wow, you really don't like this guy, do you?
I just thought it was stupid. Like, look, all right, Chris, I forget if you're a gamer. Do you play games?
No.
Okay. So there's this new game out called the Star Wars Fallen. Jesus Christ, why do I keep forgetting the title of the goddamn thing? What?
Fallen Jedi.
Fallen Jedi, yes, thank you.
You own the fucking game. Look across the room, bitch.
It's not up there. It's in the system. Anyway, the point being is that you have a droid in that one. There's a new droid. His name's BD-1. But that one makes sense because he's with you the whole time.
He has a droid named BD Wong?
No, BD-1.
Oh, come on.
But he's voiced by BD Wong.
Actually, it's not voiced at all. It's like R2. It's a series of beeps and boops. But but that droid serves a purpose in the game. It serves a fundamental purpose.
This droid, I can't remember. Let's just call him JJ. Fucking little JJ. JJ1.
Yeah.
His purpose is that, like, the information is inside him.
But that was it.
But look, he has much of a purpose as the same reason why there's a dagger that if you hold it the Goonies in a very specific way, it'll show something that, I mean, when you break it down, it's not this ancient artifact from thousands of millennia ago. It's from 30 years. Someone made a knife, stood in that location, tweaked the design to make it look like, all right, someone stands here and faces in this direction of the Death Star. They'll know how to get in this way. Instead of just, like, what? Don't make it look like an ancient artifact when it's 30 years old. It's barely older than me.
Rico nailed it. It's a toy. It's the same way that the Porgs were a toy.
Right.
You got to introduce some new shit so you can sell some new shit because you can only buy so many BB-8s.
Right.
Can you though?
No. I don't know.
Now it's baby fucking Yoda.
Yeah. Have you watched
the BB-8, and then you got to get the BB-8 that's got broken because Rey dropped a tree on him, and then what other variants of BB-8 are there?
And then you have to get like his brother BB-9 and BD Wong and yeah.
Well, and Rico, to your point, we all like this movie, and we've been saying nothing but basically negative things since we started.
I know, we've been tearing this movie apart, and we love this movie.
I really did. I really did. I came out of it really enjoying it.
You got to have a hateful fucking foreplay before you get into a good ass orgasm. Let's talk about all the negative shit first. And again, it's not really even negative. I mean, it's we're talking about like I don't have a problem with fucking little JJ fucking 1. I have no problem with it. I thought it fit the structure. I mean, my criticism is that the movie felt like a Star Wars film, but it felt a little rushed. Having it play, it was the most video game movie I've ever seen for a very long time. It was, we're on a quest. We have to go to this location to get this artifact, to go to that other fucking planet to find this hidden fucking thing. Like, it may be the fact that I'm playing a lot of Assassin's Creed right now, but they're pretty goddamn similar right now. The only thing that's not happening is someone jumping off a fucking building and scaling the walls. Oh, wait, that fucking happened on the Death Star. No shit. This is just Assassin Skywalker. That's all this is. Which I'm fine with, because if you're ever going to combine the two fucking things, that's what I want to see. I want to see Assassin's Creed video game with fucking lightsabers. Give me that. Isn't that what Jedi Fallen Order is? Is that like, it's kind of like he scales walls and shit and does the same thing?
Well, not quite as much. It's closer to a Tomb Raider or an Uncharted game than an Assassin's Creed, but yeah.
Fair enough. But
go ahead.
It was just jumps, like even to the point where they did that gimmick of what's it called, lightspeed jump?
Lightspeed skipping.
Yeah.
Like that for me is the perfect metaphor of the movie itself, which is we're gonna fucking go from one location to another in the span of 30 minutes, and you'd be like, wait, what fucking fun are we on now?
Well, see here. Okay, so to your point, and Chris, to your point about the influence of someone like a Kevin Feige, that's where that shows through the most for me, because that was very Guardians of the Galaxy in terms of them jumping around. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, but if we're talking about influence, that's where that comes in, because that was so much of that,
I thought that was a Star Wars callback where they're getting ready to jump to lightspeed, and Luke is saying, they're right there gaining, and, Solo comes back with, we could skip right into it, blah, blah, blah. That would end your trip real quick, wouldn't it? I thought that's what that was a reference to. Lightspeed skipping.
Maybe, but the sequence, do you remember in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 where they're jumping and, like, they do, like, 97 jumps in a row and Rocket's eyeballs
bulge out.
Yeah. It felt very much like that to me.
Kinda. I thought it, I think it was more of a callback to the original, where it's dangerous to lightspeed skip, because if you don't plot the coordinates of where you're going to come out, you run the risk of crashing into shit, which is what happened when they did do the lightspeed skipping.
Okay, I can...
Not going to call doing a Laura Dern.
Well, no. Well, yes, but that's not what he's I know what you're referring to, Chris. You're talking about, like...
Holdo maneuver.
What's that?
The Holdo maneuver.
Yeah.
Right. I keep calling it Hodor. It's not Hodor.
I mean, and I get what you're saying, Rico.
That's a different franchise with evil tyrants and twincest.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, Rico, but to Chris's point, there is a reference about, I remember what you're talking about. I think it's in A New Hope, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
And he's saying...
the TIE fighters are gaining. Luke's like, they're right there gaining. What's that? He's all being super annoying in the back seat. And, right before they're about to jump to lightspeed. when
right,
they're
he said
escaping Mos Eisley.
you could like come out in the middle of a planet or something, or something to that effect. I remember
Exactly.
what you're.
Yeah, and that'll end your trip real quick, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So that's light speed skipping. Why Han didn't want to do it? I thought that was a callback to that, which I thought was brilliant. Like, it's a little thing that they mentioned, and here we got to see it play out in this final movie. I thought that was awesome.
I don't know if there's like an equivalent for like Luck of the Irish for the Damerons, because that was some lucky shit that Poe pulled off.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, without plotting the coordinates of where to come out of light speed, just jumping around to escape, which I don't get how the TIE fighters can now track them through light speed.
They never explained that, did they?
No.
Well, they kind of. You want to talk about callbacks, whether it's a good one or a bad one, I think goes back to Last Jedi. Because they were tracking them through light speed in that movie, if you recall. So it's that tech. Just because they blew up that ship doesn't mean the knowledge wasn't passed on before the ship got blown up. So,
but that was just from the lead carrier they could track. But then also, since when could TIE fighters jump into light speed?
Well, no, they've done it before.
TIE fighters?
Well, no, but if... And you've seen X-Wings do it, and X-Wings and TIE fighters are essentially the same class of vehicle, I would say. I mean, they're different.
That's all right.
I'd agree with that.
You know, so if the X-Wings can do it, because we've seen them do it, then there's no reason to think a TIE fighter can't. So I don't have a fundamental problem with the TIE fighter being able to do it. I actually, the biggest problem I have with light speed, and it's not the maneuver, but it's the fact that they reference the fact that there was a fuel level. Because up to that point in The Last Jedi, there was never a talk of, we got to go refuel.
Right. The only time that ever was hinted was in Spaceballs.
Well, right, which was Spaceballs, not Star Wars.
Right. That's my point. It's like, Star Wars fans don't want to be like, oh, shit, Leia, we got to pull over. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. So...
Who wants to see that fucking vacation road trip version of Star Wars?
Yeah, I mean, well, we can all agree that The Last Jedi never happened, right?
Well, that's the thing, though.
No.
And I said this to Rico, because I asked Rico, because again, he had seen the movie before I did. I asked him on Friday, because I went yesterday to see it. I said to him, how important is The Last Jedi to what I'm about to go watch? Like, should I watch The Last Jedi again to, refresh my memory on stuff? And he said to me, no. And
that's not what I said.
What did you say?
I said, apart from some key scenes in Last Jedi, you have to acknowledge, okay, Luke is dead. Snoke is dead. The real important shit of Last Jedi. Because despite the fact that very little fucking happens in Last Jedi, there's a lot of shit happening at the same fucking time that pissed us off. That's why we were pissed off is, wait, they killed fucking Luke? They killed off Snoke? Who the fuck is Snoke? Where the fuck did he come from? So what I told you was, it felt more like a truer sequel to Force Awakens than it did to Last Jedi. It felt like it was cleaning up Last Jedi.
Right, but if you watch Return of the Jedi without having seen A New Hope or Empire, you're going to be hopelessly lost. And that's my point. You need those movies to know what's going on. So anyway.
I did see Return of the Jedi before I saw A New Hope.
Of course you did, because you see everything out of fucking order. But that's beside the point. I felt like they made some really decent callbacks to The Last Jedi that, while again it's flawed in many ways, it was useful. Like when she shows up on that island again. I don't think I ever said the name of the planet that Luke was on, but whatever that island was. What's that?
It's Octo. It's a pun on Act 2.
Okay, so there you go. But he goes there, and she goes back there and destroys her ship, or I think she crashed, and then she starts destroying parts of the tree, and there were different parts that were throwbacks and callbacks, and the one that actually stood out for me the most wasn't a callback to The Last Jedi. It was a callback to Episode 3 that I really liked. It was more of an homage than a callback. I'll put it that way. But the scene between Kylo and Rey, lightsaber fighting on the remnants of the Death Star, on that ocean planet or that ocean area, and all the
Right.
ocean and the waves and the way they were coming up, it reminded me very much of the lightsaber fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin on the lava planet in episode 3. It was very similar, just fire versus water. Like, it was that kind of thing, but it structurally, visually looked very similar to that battle for me.
I agree with that, yeah.
I would agree with that without so much because we can all at least agree the pound for pound, I think the lightsaber fights in the prequels are at least better action than any of the other films. Like, the fight between Kylo Ren and Rey is really good. And the fight between Kylo Ren and Rey and all of Snoke's guards, that's really good too.
Yeah.
But like, in terms of fast-paced, acrobatic action, nothing really comes close to Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan with Darth Maul, and then Anakin versus Obi-Wan. That's so.
I really like the Yoda Dooku fight. I'm a fan of that one too. No, I'm serious. I'm not making a joke.
Really? That just looks so ridiculous. But Yoda bouncing around everywhere.
That's what I loved about it.
But I'll defend CJ for this one. As much as I don't like Attack of the Clones, when you expect Yoda to come on screen, how did you want him to fight? Old and slow and gasping for breath? Like, he gives off the impression, especially in the sequels, that he is immensely powerful despite his stature, despite his cane, despite the fact that he speaks fucking backwards. He knows shit. He does shit. How did you want him to fight? Like a short version of Alec Guinness, like, like, he's gotta fucking be leapfrogging around Christopher Lee's head.
I don't know if that was a scene that I needed. Like, I would have been good if I did not see a Yoda lightsaber fight in all these movies. But if you had to have it, I suppose that's what you had to have.
I think he should. I would give you both this. I think they shouldn't have had it with Dooku. They should have saved it for him against the Emperor in Revenge of the Sith. That would have been a bigger what the fuck moment.
Which, yeah, I mean, you still got it, but after the Dooku thing, it lost some of its luster. Yeah, I got you. Getting back to Last Jedi callbacks, though, because there is a sequence that... No, why are you laughing at me?
I'm just remembering Yoda leapfrogging.
Oh, okay.
Because Revenge of the Sith, when he's like, the Emperor's throwing the podiums at him.
Yeah.
It literally looks like a frog jumping off the
I did. There was a sequence in The Last Jedi that at the time you see The Last Jedi, before this movie, you're kind of like, why is this here? And to me, what's that?
Room Boy?
No, not Broom Boy. Wilson lives. Leave Wilson alone. I'm telling you, they have to cast OC in that Ryan Johnson spinoff. He needs to be in that fucking movie.
Talk about callbacks. Which episode you got to go back on PodAskew to get that joke?
Cinema Wars. Yeah.
No. Fuck having OC in Star Wars. OC just needs to play Ryan Johnson.
Yeah,
exactly.
True. Anyway, that said, but there is a real sequence in that movie that at the time doesn't make any sense, or, I mean, there's a lot of sequences, but this one in particular, when she goes down into the hole or pit, whatever you want to call it, and there's that mirror thing, and you're not sure what's going on, but there's a couple of times before she goes down there where they refer to that as the darkness, and now that we know what her lineage is, it makes sense that would be drawing her in.
I still find it even more confusing, to be perfectly honest.
Why?
Like, because, look, this is, I'm going into this on a personal level and also on a logistics level. Personally, I feel like my theory was better than what J.J. Abrams ultimately gave us. Which is fine.
Refresh us on your theory.
My theory was, and I have Force Awakens and Last Jedi to support this theory, was that she was a clone. Now, I'm not saying she wasn't a clone of Palpatine or a clone of blah, blah, blah. But the point was that she was a clone of someone powerful. And because they established clones in Attack of the Clones, obviously, based on the fucking title. And in Force Awakens, when she touches the lightsaber, it brings back memories and visions. Not just the future, but like of a fight between Luke and Vader. So it's either going to be she was a clone of Anakin Skywalker or of Luke's cut off missing fucking hand. They found the lightsaber where there was a hand holding it. So that was my theory. Jumping into even more of Last Jedi, when she goes in that fucking tunnel of hate, she sees all the fucking mirrors, which for me represented
the cloning.
Multiple copies. Exactly.
Yeah.
So for them to be like, oh no, because now that, for in my opinion, that argument falls away because, oh no, she's actually Palpatine's granddaughter. Now the clone things, her seeing the numerous copies of herself and the vision in Force Awakens now makes no sense to me. It feels, it's like they were on to something. Rian Johnson kind of fucked with it a little bit, and then JJ's like, all right, fuck it. The fans are freaking out. She's Palpatine's granddaughter. Fuck it. That's what I think.
Chris?
I mean, I thought that, your theory makes the most sense, but it's also the least surprising because the amount of foreshadowing that goes into it with the reflection in the cave. I like that she was Palpatine's granddaughter because it was a surprise. I was not expecting that at all, and I had a gajillion theories as to where she came from. The most logical one being that she was a clone. Okay. As much as I shit on The Last Jedi, I've watched it a gazillion times. I do somewhat enjoy the movie for what it was. And just to throw this out there, I don't know. Have you guys seen the documentary, the Director and the Jedi?
The thing that, is that an extra on The Last Jedi?
I don't know if it's an extra, but it's basically behind the scenes of the making of and Rian Johnson's involvement and the kind of headbutt that he had with Mark Hamill, where Mark Hamill straight up on camera tells him, I don't think this is how Luke is supposed to go. Having said that, I will give you my full, 110% into what you've given me. But
I think I did see that because I think that's the documentary that's on the Blu-ray. So okay. So basically, Rian Johnson is a big Star Wars fan, and he got to make the Star Wars movie that he really wanted to see. He didn't account for the movie that the fans wanted to see. He got to make the movie that he wanted to see. So it didn't fit, and so I get why JJ did like a Last Jedi-ectomy for his movie, but to give JJ a little more credit, he kind of makes The Last Jedi a little bit better with all, like you were saying, CJ, with the callbacks that he makes to it. Rico, man, you're right. Some of that shit doesn't make sense anymore. How did the lightsaber get back together after they tore it apart in Episode 8? I have no idea, but again... because of the disjointed nature and Kathleen Kennedy's fault, just because of the disjointed nature of all this, you just got to go with it and enjoy it. Well, real quick, I have a theory about the lightsaber, actually. I have a feeling that Leia had something to do with that. They don't have to explain it. I don't think they ever were going to, but I think Leia had something to do with the repair. I think because she still had the pieces at the end of The Last Jedi. She had both halves, so maybe Leia's got some... Because one thing that was explained in this movie that was always implied, but really kind of got touched on a little more, was that Leia got formal Jedi training to a level that I never really thought she got. Like, I never thought she really got any training, and apparently she did. So she has a knowledge base, and it was actually kind of confirmed for me when they showed that she had her own lightsaber. Now, I don't know if she built it or Luke built it. That was never really, discussed or explained, but...
Had to build it.
What's that?
Every holder of the lightsaber has to build their own lightsaber.
That's what I thought, honestly. So she has a working knowledge of how to build a lightsaber. And so she might have either repaired it for Rey or rebuilt it with her together. So that's how that gets back together, Chris. That's my theory anyway.
Yeah. One of those things that we as the viewer just have to guess and kind of accept whatever. But
right.
I mean, that's another great example of how JJ made the last movie even better. Explained how Leia was able to pull off floating through space.
Right. Well,
I never said. I've always, when I first saw that, I was like, she's not flying. She's not Carrie Poppins. She's force pulling herself into
right.
the back. It was a force pull. That was fine. You know, we are kind of like skirting around the thing that we just kind of touched on. The Emperor. The Emperor's back. But we knew that way back when we saw that first trailer.
Right.
Yeah.
One of my minor criticisms, and again, this is me saying like, as on a whole of Star Wars, let's talk about the Emperor for 1 second. The Emperor is a fucking tactical genius. He is able to hide underneath the Jedi Council's nose for what's the span of Phantom Menace to Revenge of the Sith? 15 years?
Sure. Even 20, potentially. Yeah, 15 to 20. Yeah.
He's the evil Sith Lord. He's manipulating both sides. He started a war to ultimately put himself into power.
I would even argue that he's Tyrannus, like going all the way back, like well before Episode 1. Tyrannus.
Darth Tyrannus.
Lord Tyrannus, I think they called him. But yeah.
Tyrannus is Count Dooku.
No. No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
Well, no, I'm talking about the one that where he's talking to. That's it. No, Cypher Dyas was on the Jedi Council. I'm talking about the one where he's talking to Anakin and he goes. That's it. Thank you. Sorry, I had the wrong name. Yeah.
Maybe OC's onto something. Can we just have like Wilson, the fucking Jedi? Because all these fucking names are hard to. Darth Wilson. That I would like to see. I'd like to see Broom Boy become Darth Wilson. That I'll watch. But here's my point, and I was onto something. Is
sorry.
You're telling me the same fucking tactical genius is able to come back after being chucked down a fucking arc, the reactor thing. The Death Star goes boom. Somehow the Sith that is just like out on this planet, just kind of worshiping the Emperor, makes a clone of him, essentially. And you're telling me the same guy has all these resources, builds a fleet of Star Destroyers, all with the capabilities to blow up a planet, each one of them, and he tells everyone about it. Like, if this is the same guy who is so adept at remaining hidden, you're telling me he just does a mass like conference call to the Republic and the Resistance and says, "Hello, I'm back." And like, just really, the Emperor that we saw for fucking 6 goddamn movies would have just had an army and then launched an attack and had everyone been caught unawares. That for me was like, okay, I'm glad the Emperor's back, but come on, you are shitting me. You're telling me that he just, the guy who is the master of the element of surprise, did a total Bond villain move and told his whole fucking plan? And like, when he loses at the end, how is he surprised? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, at least give me that, guys. Like, I'm not.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I give it to you, and I give you. Okay, kill Rey. Okay, you know what? Fuck that. I want Rey so I can take her body.
Right? Like, no, not even that. It's I need her to kill me, so then I can jump into her body, which is a whole other fucking conversation.
See, I didn't get that from that. Yeah. I didn't get the I'm going to jump into her body. I'm sorry. It's not what I got from that.
That's what I got.
Oh yeah, that was the plan. He wanted her to kill him so his spirit could transfer into her and reign as Empress Palpatine, because all of the Sith would live within her, including him.
I took it more similarly, and again, going back to callbacks, about what he said to Luke in Return of the Jedi, when he goes, "Strike me down and I will become more powerful than you can ever imagine," or something to that effect.
That was Obi-Wan. That was Obi-Wan's quote.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but then I'm talking about, but there's still a scene where he's sitting on the throne in the Death Star talking to Luke and saying he wants him to kill him because that would have flipped Luke to the dark side, and I think he would have just gained his power, but I don't think he would have inhabited his body. Same thing with Rey. I think if Rey had killed him, if she had gone that way, it would have been the same thing. He wouldn't have inhabited her body. She just would have gained his power.
Well, but he wanted Luke to not kill him. He wanted Luke to try to kill him because he knew Vader would protect him no matter what. But he just wanted Luke to flip to anger. Therefore, Luke would be headed down the dark path. That was his goal in Return of the Jedi. In this movie, he actually wanted Rey to strike him down so that way he would be released and he would go from what I got was he would live in Rey along with all the Sith that lived before.
Right, but to be fair...
Yeah, I don't know if it was like a possession thing.
Well, because it's the same thing as the Jedi side. The fact that, you have all these... No, because she even says, I'm all the Jedi. She says that line at one point, so... By that standard, she's got Yoda living inside her, and Luke, and fucking Mace Windu, and whoever else.
Yeah. I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me.
Yeah, 1,000 years of Jedi living inside of her.
Giggity. Oh, you like the little green thing, don't you? One little question.
Yeah.
She still kills him. True, it's he dies of his own destruction because Force lightning disintegrated him.
Right. It wasn't her anger.
Right.
But that brings me to my question, which is the Force lightning that he had reflected onto him from Mace Windu in episode 3 didn't kill him and didn't even hurt him. It disfigured him. Absolutely. But let's all be honest. Ian McDiarmid's a great actor, not a great looking dude. It didn't really do much.
Well, wait, okay, so...
No. Hold on. My point is that he fakes being weak. But then he shocks, Mace Windu loses a fucking hand, like everyone else in Star Wars. And
by the way,
he says,
really quick,
unlimited power! Fucking, gives him a goddamn bolt of electricity, shoots him out, and he's totally fine.
Shoots him out the window.
What?
Does it?
Why is...
No, I said shoots him out the window.
The window, thank you. Why is it the same thing that happens? Kills him. Doesn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It either fuels him, or maybe that's what happened. He was overly charged. And that's, when you overly charge a battery, it blows up. Is that basically what the thing is?
No, okay, Chris, do you want to answer? Because I do have a theoretical answer to him, but do you have one you want to throw at him first?
Nah, you could throw it out at him. I appreciate the offer. I just want to drop in really quick. By the way, thank God there were no amputations in this trilogy.
Okay, you just beat me to it. One thing I was going to say. I was really happy that they didn't cut her hand, specifically Rey's, because I think if they were going to do it to anybody, it would have been Rey. So the fact that they didn't cut her hand off, I was really happy about. Because it would have been in order Rey or Kylo. It would have been one of those two, and they didn't do it to either of them. So I'm very happy about that. But
I was kind of hoping someone would have lost a hand. That's sort of a Star Wars go-to.
Yeah, but it's overdone. I'm with Chris. They needed to break that cycle. I'm okay with that. I'm really am.
That's a trope that didn't need to be carried over.
Thank you.
It's a tradition.
No. I'm 100% with Chris on this one.
I disagree. I think it was Disney being pussies, personally.
Yeah, no, because they fucking stabbed Kylo right through the chest and showed the wound, so no.
That's stabbed. That's not the same thing as a fucking limb being cut off.
But they showed the wound, so...
Yeah, plus, can you imagine the toys that Disney could have sold? The variants of Rey with her hand off, with a little magnet that you could take it off? Come on.
True. But anyway...
Extra toys it could sell.
We call her hands-on Rey. This is hands-off Rey.
Oh, God. To your question about how he gets killed, I think there's a couple factors that could be going on. One of which is because she's Palpatine in origin, I think it's different. You know what I mean? I think it's a different effect when she shoots the lightning back at him. Even if it's a reflection of his own lightning, I think there's some of her power going through it. Because to your point, Chris, when let's say, for real, at one point Rey dies. I mean, she ultimately survives, but do we agree that at one point she's dead?
Yeah.
Okay, so when she dies, I think she does turn. I think she is technically on the dark side at that moment when she dies. Like the Emperor predicted, if he kills her, she'll turn to the other side and get all this power. What I think brings her back in both ways is Ben. When he comes in and he's turned to the light side now, he's no longer Kylo, he's Ben Solo again. And
wearing a Gap hoodie.
What's that?
Wearing a Gap shirt.
Yeah. Well, but when he comes back and he's Ben Solo and he's like holding her and essentially transferring his essence into her, that's when she becomes the Rey we know again.
You know, you didn't intend to, but you just made me think of something else that reminded me of that.
What's that?
You basically, what you just said was that when she died, because I only saw it the one time. Did she get like killed and then like came back to life and then fought Palpatine and then won and that was it?
No.
Right?
Fought Palpatine, kills Palpatine with the lightning thing that you're talking about, dies from the power overload of that battle, and then Ben comes out of the pit that he gets thrown into, which God knows how he did that, and like holds her and basically fucking rogues himself into her. Well,
rogues himself.
Well, that's good. No, because it reminded me of that scene in the first X-Men when Wolverine's holding on to Rogue when she's dead, and like transfers his power. It looked very much like that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people were complaining about, like, what's with this new force power? I'm like, every idiot who's had a Star Wars video game has played that force power.
Yep.
You have to self-heal with the force. This is nothing new.
Except the recent one. He doesn't heal that way. Not yet, anyway. He gets med packs, yeah.
Okay. Well,
what about passing shit through the force? Like, that to me doesn't make any sense at all.
I do agree. That never was a thing until Snoke / Emperor, because as we realized, Snoke is the Emperor, or at least he's an OC, he's an original clone.
Yeah.
But that's my...
But see, wait, Chris, you said yourself these new expansions. You like these new expansions that they were doing. Like, this may have always been a force power that we just never got to see. Because there was never two people connected that directly through the force. Not that directly. No. Who?
Luke Leia.
Not that closely. Not that directly where they were having conversations, seeing each other. That did not happen.
But if they hadn't revealed she was his sister and they ended up fucking, it would have been that way.
Well, come on.
Like, force Skyping is one thing, but like I had a problem in The Last Jedi when Luke appears and he actually can pass off the dice and they're physically there for a while until he decides they're no longer there anymore. Like, I had a problem with matter transference through the Force in the last movie, but now they're actually passing lightsabers to each other through the Force somehow. And I'm like, all right, I'll go with it. This is a new way you can use the Force that I've never seen before. It kind of doesn't really fit to how the Force has been described to me, but sure, you got to tell this story. It was like another one of those, okay, I'm going to go with it just because I'm having a good time. But there's a lot of that happens in this movie.
I actually liked it. I thought it was a nice twist.
By the way, it's not a Force Skype call. It's hashtag Force time.
I like that.
No, I think he's right,
Apple probably owns
Chris.
That already.
I think it's actually a thing on Twitter. Yeah.
Is it now?
Yeah.
I do have like structural. Again, I liked Rise of Skywalker. I thought it was a very good movie, but as a trilogy, I was like, there's 2 of these I like. There's one of these that, but there's a part. Like, if you just go, because we're Star Wars fans, we have to deep dive into why did Emperor Palpatine think this thought? Like, because we're that way. But let's touch that. We now know Snoke is Emperor Palpatine, or Emperor Palpatine created Snoke, and every voice Kylo Ren has ever heard, which I did like, because I had this long-standing theory that Darth Vader was speaking to Kylo Ren and fucking with him. And then I had a whole theory about like, there's a dark side, Force Ghost and there's a light side Force Ghost. So you get to see a red silhouetted Darth Vader and a blue silhouetted, Anakin Skywalker just like tearing Kylo Ren apart. Like,
which was a good theory, by the way. I really liked that theory when you had it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. That was a great one.
But I also do like that it was like Emperor Palpatine fucking with Kylo this whole time as Vader. That's some dark shit. Where he's like, I'm bringing you up. I'm your grandfather. I love you, but really. But my question, why the fuck, and I stress that, why the fuck did Snoke link Kylo Ren to Rey if Snoke is the Emperor and the Emperor knows Rey's his granddaughter?
Well, wait. You answered your own question.
But why try and kill her then?
He didn't. He was trying to the whole time.
Snoke was, but Snoke is the Emperor.
Right?
Really?
Yes, he said that.
Okay, I missed that altogether. I thought he was just the Emperor's like henchman, which is why he had so many clones of him.
No, essentially the way they described it was that he had these clone bodies that were Snoke, but the Emperor was basically. He was a puppet, and the Emperor was speaking and acting through him. That's the way it came across.
Which goes with the whole thing of, strike me down, I go into your body.
Well,
which, briefly, my brother had a theory about that long before that. He said, I think he thought Hux was possessed by the Emperor. He had the whole theory that, all right, if Snoke is whatever, Snoke is either the Emperor or Snoke is his own thing. He thought Snoke was going to like force jump. All right. # force jump from that body to Hux's body. And his evidence was when Hux walks in and sees, Snoke cut in half. He all of a sudden looks at Kylo Ren and wants to reach for his blaster and shoot him while he's knocked out knocked unconscious. Because in my brother's mind, that's the Emperor / Snoke being like, this motherfucker just like cut me in half. I'm going to shoot him. Oh wait, he woke up. All right. Well, element of surprise is over. So my brother's kind of right. It didn't happen because ironically enough, Hux turned out to be like, hey, remember that angry ginger fucking Nazi? Fuck him.
We'll get to that in a minute because that was a little odd to me. But getting back to what you were saying and Chris, to your thing, like I've just lost my train of thought. Shit.
Between Kylo and Rey, why the fuck did Snoke do that? If the Emperor
the whole time he's been trying to bring. See, he's been trying to do 2 things simultaneously, right? He's been trying to get Kylo as dark to the dark side as possible. So that's why he lets him cut Snoke in half, essentially, because it keeps adding to this anger that's supposed to be right. But he's got to.
I don't know if that was planned. That was not part of his fucking plan.
Well, no.
In half?
Not necessarily, but obviously he had multiple Snokes in reserve. We saw that in the vat, but
he had multiple Snokes afterwards. It's like, fuck, dude, Kylo cut my original copy. I gotta make 30 of these now just in case.
Well, yeah, but still, that aside, like he the whole what it looks like now is that the whole time he's been trying to get Rey back to what the name of the fucking planet.
Sithland. Fuck it.
Okay, Sithland. But he's been trying to get Rey back to that point. So he's been doing that as well as trying to keep Kylo as deep into the dark side as possible.
all right, I'll give you that because the Emperor didn't know where Rey was. She was on Jakku. The parents were dead. She went from that to with Han and Finn, and then from there she went to fucking hang out with Luke, and then from there, okay, all right, you proved me wrong. So because I was like thinking like if there was a link, couldn't he have just like it was just a little sloppy for like Snoke to be like literally having Rey in his grasp, and then just be like, I don't know, chuck her in a cage, send the fucking cage in a ship, have the ship go to the fucking planet, and be like, Emperor's like, thank you. That's all I fucking needed.
See, but here's the other thing. I think he needed her to go on her journey to a degree to get her to be able to get to the dark side, which is where he wanted her to go. Now, ultimately, didn't work because Leia had a bigger influence on her than he did, but that was his ultimate goal.
I'll give you that, but this is also the same type of thinking of like, hey, I got a master plan. Let's let everyone know. That's still a big issue for me.
See, that's a big issue for you, and I get why it is, but to me, there was what it is. I don't have an answer for, but there was a method to his madness. So there was a reason. He had a reason for doing that. What it was may not be clear, but he had one. Like I don't think it's a random thing or a flub up like you're talking about.
No, I'm not saying that at all. And I'm not even, I'm just saying, I think JJ was probably trying to aim for, if the Emperor reveals himself, then the Resistance and the Rebellion like loses hope. And then they're ultimately just give up.
Sure.
But more likely to fucking give up if like 50 goddamn planet destroying ships just show up. They'll be like, all right, I'm done. Fuck it.
Okay.
Like,
so
you win.
That brings me to a question for both you guys. So, Chris, please chime in here. But what do we think about the fact that, for 2 movies, you had the only way you were able to use Death Star tech was to build this gigantic fucking floating space station. And now you can miniaturize it almost to a blaster. Well, maybe not that small. But, I mean, you had this battering ram in The Last Jedi that Finn specifically says is Death Star tech. And then, again, you have it on these ships that the Emperor's developed.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with technology advancing. That's fine.
Okay, I just, it seemed like a big jump to me. But the other question I have, and this is more of just a tongue-in-cheek question, why is the only ship configuration that works geometric? Like, seriously. The only thing that works are these triangular-shaped ships. They're always triangles.
Man. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I guess, but...
They have triangles, they have giant circles, like...
When does the New Order, or the First Order, and the Empire ever have anything other than triangles?
Well, Death Star was a big old circle.
Well, Death Star wasn't a ship, it was a space station. I'm talking about ships.
Well, Death Star traveled through space, too.
Well, okay.
Traveled through light speed.
Stationary, yeah. And then TIE fighters are circle with 2 lines. With
gigantic squares, geometric shape.
I mean,
which, by the way, is genius, because kids can draw TIE fighters so easy.
Yeah.
It's just circle.
X-Wings are easy to draw, too. So
yeah.
I've got another question. It took them how long to create the first Death Star?
Well, years, but that's because they kept having to hide the plans.
Okay. How long did it take them to make the second Death Star?
Oh, I know. I always had a problem with that. It was like 18 months.
Years.
Well, that's because they were double timing it.
Yeah, well, yes.
But lost, like, so... I mean, going through a fucking throwback to Clerks, how many people do you think died on the first Death Star? That's so many stormtroopers and technicians.
Yeah.
You're telling me he managed to find double that to fix and make the next one?
As a contractor, you...
Yes. you choose your jobs wisely.
But you don't get a choice if Darth Vader is standing in the corner being like, you're saying no to this.
Yeah. I want to touch on something you brought up, Rico, because it is something I want to talk about. What do we think about Hux being the mole or the traitor or whatever?
Chris, I've been talking forever. Why don't you go?
Man, I kind of dug it. It seemed like a very easy out to conclude his story.
Agreed.
And if anybody in this trilogy has my sympathy, in a weird way, it's Hux, not Rose, because every movie, that guy just gets tossed around like a rag doll.
The second one he does.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the second one, because in the first one, it's the implication that, like, he is the only other person that has no problem saying no to Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And he's screaming, he's doing his fucking Nazi, speech. He has power. He's sort of a young Moff Tarkin is what I got the impression of him. You know what I mean? Like, he's got that power. I mean, screaming doesn't help, but he still has this air of authority without even having a mask. Like, Kylo Ren looks imposing because he walks around in a fucking, emo Vader, helmet.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that was cool as shit. They brought that fucking thing back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And like the weird, like, red hot glue. Like,
well, I mean, that was the total symbolism of Rian Johnson broke this shit apart. Here I am, JJ. I'm going to fix it, put it back together, make it cool again.
There's a lot of that. It's the fixing of the Excalibur lightsaber. It's also
the scene with Luke is the one you brought up yesterday.
The scene with Luke, where she throws the lightsaber in the fire, which fuck you for doing that, and then Ghost Luke, which I'm like, they're ghosts, but they can hold shit. That's weird, but I'm okay with it because it's the same logic way back in Return of the Jedi, where old ass Ghost Ben Kenobi is confronted by Luke being like, why didn't you tell me Vader's my father? And then Ben Kenobi gets so tired as a ghost, he sits on a rock.
Let me have a seat while I tell you this story. Hold on, let me pull my robes apart a little bit here. Okay. Shit, did my robe get caught on that log? Like, yeah, these Jedi Force ghosts have the weirdest. I need someone to explain to me how they have mass and matter, and how, like, Force Ghost Yoda can call down lightning, but again, just gotta go with it. It's like, okay, cool, we're doing this now, cool.
Not to mention, I completely had forgot about it. Force Ghost Yoda bonks Luke on the fucking head
with a stick. Yep, bonks
stick. Yeah. And Luke's like,
wait. Okay, hold on. Time out here. We'll come back to this. I want to get back to my Hux thing that we started.
Let me finish that scene. So Luke catches the lightsaber and says, "This deserves more respect." That was such a fuck you to Rian Johnson.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, but go ahead.
No. I have a follow-up question because I have a theory, but I want to ask my question first before I give my theory. Do we think Hux was the inside man from the beginning?
No.
Or no? No. Okay. See, that's where I'm at, too. I think by the end of The Last Jedi, he's so annoyed with Kylo that he's like, fuck this shit, I gotta do something, so... And he references it. He says, I don't necessarily want you to win, I just need him to lose. But...
Agreed.
Yeah.
Because if he started as a Resistance member from the very beginning, his ass would have been so fired for destroying 5 fucking planets.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how deep you want to be. You kind of just fucked us all over.
Yeah.
Like, I'm deep. I'm a deep secret agent. Dude, you became the villain. What the fuck?
The other thing I was unclear on, and maybe you guys picked up something I didn't, the general that ends up running everything and ends up killing Hux. First off, it's implied he was in the original trilogy. I don't remember him, but that doesn't mean he wasn't there. And then, 2, how did he leapfrog Hux? Because Hux seemed like he was like the top guy just below Kylo and Snoke.
Because the Emperor was in control of the whole thing. So he was working directly for the Emperor.
Okay.
So if Hux is if Hux is dead, and
well, this
Kylo
is before, even before he kills Hux, it seemed like he was kind of ahead of him.
He sent him out. No, he wasn't ahead of him, but like he was. It's like Vader and Moff Tarkin. Like they're
right, but that's what Hux was the Moff Tarkin. So when did this guy leapfrog him to become the Moff Tarkin? Essentially,
I think he always was. We just didn't see him.
Yeah.
Which is bullshit in and of itself, but that's okay.
Oh, because he needed to be cryogenically created on the fucking Sith planet. I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was
Which,
just
by the way,
curious.
that actor is an awesome actor, Richard E. Grant. The guy who played him. Yeah, so good. He's been around forever.
Okay,
Well,
so to my question, was he in the original? Does the character, not the actor, was the character? Because he said, "I served you before, I'll serve you again." Meaning, I think that's a reference back to the 4, 5, and 6.
Oh yeah, for sure. I served you during the time of the Sith, I think is what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's been around for a very long time, which would answer your question of why is he a higher rank? Because he's been around longer.
Okay.
He is essentially Emperor Palpatine's Snape. He's his own double agent. He's his own secret guy that he's been he's his secret apprentice without being a Force user. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
He's like, if all this Force shit goes to shit, you are my political strategy. Which, for the most part, Richard E. Grant was so good that when he was first cast, they didn't say who his character was. Everyone was thinking and theorizing that he was Thrawn.
Right.
Okay,
because
I don't know.
Same bone structure.
I don't know who Thrawn is on, so I apologize.
Admiral Thrawn was this blue-skinned, red-eyed, tactical fucking genius for the Empire. Moff Tarkin didn't compare. Vader didn't compare. It was Thrawn.
Yeah.
And
this is from the official canon at the time. Now they've kind of Disney has redone the canon, but at the time this was the official continuation after Return of the Jedi. There was a trilogy of books, the Heir to the Empire trilogy. Right. And this character is the one that resurrects the Empire. He's the main antagonist of that series.
Yeah, he's a Moff Tarkin Vader combination sort of thing. But actually, Chris, I don't know if you know, did you ever watch Rebels?
I did not, but I do know that he's in there.
He is pretty fucking prominently in there. Ironically, I think he's voiced by the brother of Mads Mikkelsen, the guy who plays Jyn Erso's dad, the creator of the Death Star, essentially.
Oh, that's cool. All right.
So I think his name is Lars Mikkelsen.
Okay, so he's back in the canon then.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because that's my point, is that as much as these movies have some faults and some praise, Disney kind of dropped the ball. We can all sort of agree with not really going the adapting an extended universe. They should, in my opinion, I would have much rather see the Skywalker solo twins that were in the extended universe. What were their name?
Jensen and Jaina.
Yeah. And then have young Anakin solo and shit like that. Have Luke marry Mara Jade and have his own bullshit and yada, yada, yada.
Well,
have Chewbacca die exploding planet.
Let me ask you a quick question, because you mentioned these Skywalker twins. How old are they supposed to be? I know they're not in this movie, but in this EU, how old are they supposed to be?
I don't get that much older than 20, I think. They're still pretty young.
Yeah, they grew up to become Jedi, though.
They grew up to become Jedi, and then one turns.
Well, here's what I was wondering. Going back to a question you asked a while ago, Rico, about how she killed the Emperor using the lightning or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering if they say she's Palpatine's granddaughter. Not saying that's not accurate, but they don't reference both her parents. Both her parents are not his kids. It's not like it's incest, right?
Right.
So what if one of the other one, what if whatever parent wasn't Palpatine was a Skywalker?
Oh. But which Skywalker?
But that's one that we don't know. And these twins could have been the answer. That's why I was asking how old they would have been. Because what if one of those twins, especially the one that did, now you're telling me one of them turned, so I'm whatever one didn't turn is the other parent to Rey.
Do we know which one was the child of Palpatine?
No, that's my
The
point.
boy.
We don't know if it's the father or the mother.
It was the father. It was the father.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
How did we find
The
that out?
father-
'Cause I don't.
I read it somewhere.
Oh, well, okay, but it's not explained in the movie, is what I'm saying.
No. Yeah. Just in the same way that we don't know what Finn was going to say to
Right.
Rey, and JJ later came out and said, "Yeah, I'm force sensitive." Like, there's a
Like,
whole
we
bunch of stuff that didn't get included in the movie, and it's like you got to do your homework to like put the pieces together.
Just like we don't know what interesting pickup line Palpatine used to get laid in the first place.
Right?
Like we know it was before he got all crusty, but like.
Okay, Palpatine's pickup line, and you can only use lines from Star Wars movies. Go.
Have you ever heard the tragic tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
How about look at the size of that thing?
You came in that thing, you're braver than I thought. Oh!
Not from a Jedi.
Oh! Very good!
Thank you.
Judge me by my size, do you?
Wait. I have another one. It didn't go in, it just bounced off the outside. But if that had happened, we wouldn't have had a Rey Palpatine. Which, can I ask you guys for 1 second? I've heard from numerous people that have actually changed, not personally. I've seen people talk about this online, that they have grown up to not like their family and then chosen a different last name or been adopted and embraced that last name. Are we fine with, how do you guys feel about Rey now being a Skywalker? That now she is she's the title character. She's the Rise of Skywalker. It's not Luke. It's not Solo. She's a Skywalker. Are we cool with with doing that?
I am. I've got no problem with it. I actually think it is the way it should have went. I think with her embracing the light as opposed to the dark side, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Was Shmi Skywalker? Was that her given name, or
Yes.
was that her slave name?
That's her name.
Well, what do you mean? I don't think she had a slave name. I don't think they had slave names. I think that was just the
slave names.
Yeah.
Like, basically, is that the name that she was born with, or was that given to her by someone?
No, I think that was
In
what
the
she was
same way
born
that
with.
Han Solo was given to him.
No, Solo, he kind of just gave himself, honestly.
Yeah, he just made it up on the spot. But
Right.
you know what I'm
No.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just curious. So that way, if it were like her given, if that name was given to her, I would have a much easier time accepting Rey just taking Skywalker as her, last name.
Which, by the way, what luck she got a cool. If someone gave her the name Skywalker, that's some fucking lucky shit. Because Skywalker is an awesome last name.
Yeah,
It
that's pretty
could
cool.
have been something awful like Jabba the Hutt's sex slave.
By the way, wait a minute, though. If, going back to my theory about Rey for a second, right? We keep talking about where the lineage and where would the other half of this, parenting couple come from that would make Rey, right? We don't know if Shmi didn't have brothers and sisters somewhere, or aunts and uncles. There could be other Skywalkers.
You're going the dogma route.
No,
no, like Jesus.
Right.
Oh, Rey.
Like Jesus had brothers and sisters in the same way that Anakin had brothers and sisters.
Or even if, we're pretty sure he only had half brothers and sisters, just based on what you see in episode 2. But to that point,
Wait, no. Anakin does not have half brothers and sisters.
or step brothers. Excuse me, calm the fuck down. Jesus.
No, that's different. Would you rather be the half brother of Christ or the step brother of Christ?
Neither, but that's not the point.
We're all going to hell for having this conversation. Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee.
At least if you're a half brother of a fucking religious deity, you get some of the fucking magical perks. But if you're a step brother, you're just that asshole who lives in the same house.
Right, okay, but going back to the argument you guys had it during Cinema Wars, if the Force comes to the Skywalker family as a whole, if Shmi has siblings, then they potentially are Force users as well. So therefore, if they have kids, and then one of those kids marries Palpatine's offspring,
right?
There we go.
But except Shmi got pregnant and gave birth to Anakin because he was an immaculate conception.
Yes, no, I'm talking
supposedly planted there by Palpatine.
You're not hearing. You're not hearing me.
I am hearing you. The chosen one is just the chosen one.
Right, you're
That
still not
is
hearing
DNA.
me. That's his DNA. Yes.
Yeah.
But if the Skywalkers as a whole can use the Force, and if Shmi has siblings, not Anakin, Shmi has siblings.
Yeah.
Then they have kids, and one of those kids marries Palpatine's offspring. There's Rey.
I see what you're saying, but I go with the fact that, let me put it this way. Shmi by herself is not powerful. Anakin is powerful.
We don't know that Shmi's not powerful.
She wouldn't have fucking died.
Not if she didn't know she had the power.
She knew there was something. She said, I can't explain it. I carried him. I birthed him. I don't know what the fuck was going on.
But she didn't know how to use the Force. She didn't know how to use the Force.
Okay.
Doesn't mean she couldn't. She didn't know.
Okay, but you're making a theory on top of a theory. There's no evidence to support.
Right, because there's fucking written down rules to any of this.
We're totally just making shit up at this point. Because, okay, look, let's say Watto and Shmi got down and had a kid. So you got a little fucking Skywalker with wings on his back. Okay, go with me here.
But he would literally he would live up to his fucking name and be a Skywalker.
Exactly. Boom.
But
I want that movie. I want the Star Wars spin-off of Watto and Shmi's offspring. I want that fucking movie.
Skywalker.
Oh my god.
But here's the thing: when I fucking make a theory, I'm looking at what we're given. You are just making a fucking it would be the equivalent of being like, you know what? I got a theory. I know why Kylo Ren was such an asshole. Luke and Leia had him, not Leia and Han.
No, it's not like that at all. Now you're just fucking nitpicking to move your point.
You're adding family members that we have no fucking clue even exist.
You know what? You guys convinced me. Rise of Skywalker was shit. Fuck this movie. Yeah, you guys have turned me. Thanks, guys. Thanks for letting me see clearly now.
This episode has been brought to you by the downfall of Skywalker.
Hashtag release the JJ cut.
Yeah, right? Oh, Christ.
Oh, dear God.
Look, again, I fucking like the movie. That's what I have to say. Is I like the fucking movie. And one thing I did want to bring up, and I keep forgetting to, we kept alluding to, is one of the things that I want to expand upon, and I told CJ this, I'll tell you this, Chris, is that the scene where she hears all the voices of the Jedi. First off, beautiful scene. Well, and they didn't just do like the main hitters. They went in deep cuts to like Ahsoka Tano from Clone Wars to Adia Gallia, like someone who we never even heard fucking speak. She was the African American, or I don't know. I think she had a British accent. She's a Black British Jedi on the Jedi Council in Phantom Menace.
Why is it
Yala Secura?
Why didn't Yaddle? Damn it!
Huh? Who?
Yaddle.
Yo, you didn't hear Yaddle, but I even got beef with this scene too. Like, why do you hear Ben twice? Like, why do you hear young Kenobi and old Kenobi?
Yeah. I thought you did. Actually, I thought I did, Chris. To be fair, I thought I did.
No, you did hear both. And I'm saying you pick one. You can't do both.
Oh, you're saying don't do both. My bad. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the beef that I had. Like if you want to go with Force Ghost Kenobi, cool. Keep it at that. But you get young Kenobi too, so just so you can get Ewan McGregor to make a cameo. I'm like, no, I don't know.
it would be like hearing Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker both say, like, you're doing good.
Yeah.
Like,
Did they have Anakin, by the way?
yeah, he said continue something like I've.
Yeah, balance the force. Bring balance to the force like I did.
That's.
It was so rapid fire that I didn't catch all of them. Like, I tried, but it was very rapid fire.
There was also Liam Neeson.
I heard
Neeson's
Liam.
Qui-Gon came back.
I heard him.
Mace fucking went
I heard Mace. I heard Yoda. I heard Luke, and I heard Alec Guinness. Those are the ones I heard.
And McGregor came back, which I think now we should just call it Alec McGuinness.
Well, because I fucked up and said that like 3 episodes ago, Dick.
Yeah. Alec McGregor.
Alec McGregor.
So my whole thing was, it's so awesome that they did that. But couldn't we have seen it? Couldn't we have seen a whole sea of Jedi Force ghosts not doing shit, but just standing behind her, like, you know, and have like the Emperor have this look of like a little twitch in his eye of like, oh shit, like now I'm in trouble. They don't have to do anything, but just for the emotional impact, like, fuck it, have the Avengers behind Captain America. That's what I'm saying. Like,
the only other place that would have fit is in the Tatooine scene at the end instead. Because that's where I think you should have done it. Where you saw Luke and Leia, just have them all standing there.
But that's more of a personal thing, because that's Luke, where Luke's from. And because Leia doesn't have a fucking planet anymore, like, that's why she's standing there. It's not because, like, I read a comment where someone's like, why the fuck did Rey bury Leia's lightsaber there? She never said, because where the fuck on Alderaan is she supposed to put it? It's like, here, it goes to Alderaan, just chucks it into space. Like, boom,
I mean, it was cool to see her go back to the moisture farm and all that kind of thing, but like, it would have been kind of cool if she had buried it on Jakku.
I think she should have buried it on Noctu, personally. I think she should have gone back to the fucking island planet and just been like, fuck it. This is now the new Tatooine.
That's a possibility. Or maybe maybe Tatooine was meant to be the new Octu. That's why she went there.
I think Jakku was meant to be the new Tatooine.
Well, okay. I mean, so was that a planet where they had the fucking, Burning Man festival at the beginning of the movie?
That was a little weird. Like, Kevin Smith did a whole review about this, and I never noticed it, but he said something. He's like,
I gotta watch that now. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I'll say one thing. He's like,
sure.
Everyone really gives a fuck about last names in this movie. Like, in the first movie, they say, who are you? I'm Rey. Cool. Move on. Now everyone gives a fuck about, well, who are you? I'm Rey. What's your last name? I don't have a last name. I'm nobody. Blah, 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 blah. They do that 2 or 3 times in this movie until finally at the very end she says, oh, no one's been at this fucking house since forever, since we like saw Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru just smoldering. Like, who the fuck are you? And she's like, I'm Rey. Rey who? And then she looks at fucking Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and be like, Skywalker. And then, cool, credits. Why? My opinion, because I'm fine with her embracing the Skywalker name and have Luke and Leia nod their approval. Like, yeah, you earned it. You deserve it.
Right.
You are going to carry on the Skywalker name because fucking Solo died because, yeah. But he died because he gave you too much. Which, by the way, really cracks me up that Kylo Ren's last line of dialogue in the entire fucking franchise is "ow."
Yeah.
But
did you like that he kissed real quick? Did you have a problem with that?
It just seemed a little awkward.
A little bit.
A little awkward. Like,
I would have liked it better though if he had survived and they'd gone off together.
Yeah, like,
the fact that she kissed him and then he dies is
although, yeah, and then she kisses him. And he's like, "Ow!" And then boom, he fucking disappears because that. Remember when just like Jedi just didn't disappear when they died?
Well, no. When?
What?
I mean, you gotta go back to episode 3 for that.
Bullshit. You think about what happened to Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn.
That's what I'm saying. You have to go back to episode 3 before for the last time a Jedi died and didn't just vanish. Is what I'm saying.
No, episode 6, Vader has to burn, and then episode 1, Qui-Gon gets burned.
But wait. How do we know that Vader's body, Anakin Skywalker's body, didn't disappear in the suit? We saw the suit burning.
Right.
What's the point of burning the suit? He's cremating his father.
Symbolism?
Yeah.
I don't think I see much point in burning the suit if
but here's
there's
my
no body inside.
Wait,
but
but if you don't know there's no body inside, because he's more robot than body, so it would have kept its form.
He's more machine than man. Get it right, motherfucker.
Whatever. It would have kept its form is my point. So.
But Qui-Gon Jinn... Well, no, there are ashes because Kylo Ren has the ashes. So
no, he has the helmet.
He has the ashes.
Where?
In his little trophy room. That's the helmet on a thing of ashes. At one point in Force Awakens, when he first takes off his helmet and shows his pretty boy look, he drops his Kylo Ren helmet on a pile of ashes.
It's a pile of dirt. You don't know that it's ashes.
I thought it was a pile of sand.
Yes, thank you. That's where I was at.
Look, the Skywalkers do not fucking like sand. Okay, why the fuck would he have sand? That would be a disservice to his grandfather's memory. It's his fucking ashes. And
but get to Qui-Gon. You're making a point there.
J.J. Abrams confirmed.
Thank you, Chris.
Ashes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Qui-Gon Jinn was the first one of the Jedi to be able to be one with the Force and to keep going. He taught Yoda through Force meditation, but after he had died. So when Qui-Gon Jinn got fucking stabbed by Darth Maul, theoretically, he should have disappeared.
Right.
That he got cremated.
No. No. I disagree. Because he learned that technique after he died. Everyone after that, wait, hear me out. Everyone after that gets taught that technique from the afterlife, from Qui-Gon and subsequent Jedis. So they fade off because they've learned the technique before death. So that's why they don't need to be like cremated or burned or whatever. Anakin was never taught, technically never taught it, you would think, but then he shows up at the end of Jedi, so I'm not sure. But the point being is that, to your question, he didn't learn that till after.
Okay. That's fair. See,
okay, so then explain to me why Leia dies, doesn't disappear until Ben dies, and they both disappear together.
Because she was... I have one too, but go ahead, Rico.
No, I said I was confused by that.
Oh, I have a theory. It's pretty simple. She was much like Luke did with projecting himself to that other planet where they had the battle in The Last Jedi. Instead of projecting her image, she was projecting her force or her essence towards him. Her light side, to him, and that's what along with... I almost think that's what allowed him to have the vision of his father on the Death Star planet, whatever you want to call, whatever that was called.
Which shouldn't have been Endor, by the way.
I thought they said Endor, but then it was all this water, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, they got multiple moons around Endor.
Oh, was it a moon around Endor?
The moon of Endor.
Okay,
well,
they
were on the forest moon of Endor for Return of the Jedi, so this was either Endor itself or another moon.
Okay, I missed something in there, but I'm with you, Chris. I'm not going to argue against that, but I missed that when I saw it. So
yeah, which by the way, I thought you were going to say the reason why Princess Leia didn't disappear was because she was mostly dead.
What do you mean?
No, sorry, it was a Princess Bride call back.
Oh,
but it's too soon.
But still, you haven't explained why she's dead. She dies. Her hand drops. She's holding the medal that she wants Chewie to have. She's dead. They put a blanket over her head. She's dead. But she doesn't disappear until like a day later when Kylo dies.
I would argue. Well, there's a couple arguments there just based on that sentence. The first one is that I don't know that it's a day separation. It could be a lot shorter, but that's a whole other thing. The bigger thing is that I don't think she was dead in the sense that the Jedi look at death. Like, I think she was still there, and until she didn't have to use her power anymore, that's when the body fades out. That's just me, but...
Her body was dead.
No, I don't think she was dead. I think it's like
they got a blanket over her face,
right? But you've heard of okay. Let's bring it into the real world for a brief second. You've heard of people that have been pronounced dead and then woken up like 3 days later when it turns out they were actually in a fucking coma. It's that kind of concept.
But you wouldn't put a sheet over someone.
They've done it. People have woken up in the freezer in the morgue because they thought they were dead.
From a storytelling standpoint, she is dead. She's not mostly dead. She is dead.
No.
Chewie mourns her. Like, that's the sign that she's gone, finite, done, zip, nothing.
You're missing my point here. Everyone, again, bringing it into a real-world scenario for a second, there have been people that have been pronounced dead. And they've started services and whatever, and they've woken up a couple days later. It's happened. So you, in that 3-day period in real life, you would mourn for someone you thought was pronounced dead and was in the morgue. You would start that mourning process, and the same thing was going on. But instead of her waking up, she finally lets go because she doesn't need to project anymore to save Ben, and she fades off.
Okay, so you're going with the mostly dead theory.
No, I'm saying, I guess that's...
I think you should call it that, CJ.
Okay.
Just make it easier.
Okay, no, cool.
Her body's dead.
Yes.
Her body's dead. Her spirit is alive. It's just... But then her spirit kind of just fucks off, and then, like, the body doesn't need to be... She needs a vessel, I guess. She needs, like, a stasis to kind of... But that doesn't make sense. What? You know what?
That's cool. No, I'm cool with that. I mean, it's as good as an explanation as any.
Thank you.
My initial rant about Rey becoming a Skywalker had a part 2 to it.
Okay.
Because as much as I'm okay with her embracing the Skywalker last name,
wait. Sorry to interrupt. I just to hammer that nail in for CJ's point, to prove that Leia's not dead. When Rey is calling for all the Jedi, you don't hear Leia's voice.
Thank you.
Well, I thought you do hear this voice.
Nope.
Yeah, Leia is not one of those voices. So
I'm pretty positive you hear Leia's voice because Carrie Fisher's got a very distinct voice.
Okay, hold on. If that's true, I'm going to look it up while you share your next theory.
Well, so is Rico. So you guys,
If you look it up, then I don't have to look it up. Who's going to look it up?
Chris, look it up. Rico, you tell your theory.
Well, Chris, you're going to be honest if you find it? Or do I have to look it up?
No, he's going to be honest. He's always been honest with us. Don't fucking do that.
What do I have to gain from lying?
Making Rico look stupid?
Yeah. You being correct-ish?
Oh, I have no stake in this. I don't care one way or the other. I'm just bringing it up for fun discussion.
I don't have a theory, but my own personal thing of like, I kind of wish Rey had kept the Palpatine last name as a sort of a big fuck you to the Emperor. Being like, what?
I dig it. Keep going. Preach, brother.
Because Palpatine's name has been the name of fear and aggression and evil and tyranny ever since. You know, even back when he was a politician, they're like, he's a good politician. He's kind of an asshole, you know. So now have her be like, I'm a Palpatine, but not like my grandfather before me. That would be a good twist of like, I am a Jedi like my father before me. I'm a Palpatine, but not like my grandfather before me. I am using the name to bring good. That now his evil dies. Not only does his body die, but his name is reborn. Fuck him. It's now my name. That's, I'm fine with her being a Skywalker. I'm fine. But, I kind of think that was what Rian Johnson would have done. Let me put it that way. Rian Johnson would have done that shit.
You know what you do? You make it very 21st century and you hyphenate this shit. And it's Palpatine Skywalker.
You know what? I won't even give Rian Johnson that much credit. That's like Rico genius. The same way that you would have the red outline Forest Ghost. Don't give that shit to Rian Johnson. Take the credit that you deserve, man. That's a fucking genius idea, and that's all yours.
Well, I appreciate it, but at
Chris,
the same time,
you have been a friend and a fan of this show long enough to know that his ego does not need any more fucking inflating. Please don't help.
I know, man. Especially after he took that shot at me at the beginning of the show,
right?
And you still haven't fucking listened to Batman Alone. When you watch that shit, I need you to tell me how good my Joker impression is. I need it.
Or tell him how terrible
Rico
he was.
shot first.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
That brings me to my other thing. I'm like,
Chris,
the comedic part of me.
You can always hold over his head. You beat him at Cinema Wars. You still have that. So,
well, I can't find Carrie Fisher's voice in that.
Now you got Rico looking. He's refusing to give up on this.
I could have sworn I heard Carrie Fisher's voice.
I don't see it. I'm looking at the list. I don't see it. So anyway, like I was saying, your theory is as good as mine. And by the way, that would be like going back to Rico's theory or idea. That would be a great fucking way to clean slate this whole thing. And like the next trilogy of movies, Palpatine is the name that everybody looks to for hope. That would be beyond amazing.
Wait, say that last part again. I was trying to prove you wrong. What?
Kind of like what you were saying, where she keeps the name Palpatine, and then for the next generation of Jedi, Palpatine is the name that everybody looks to for hope.
Yeah.
That would be great. That'd be a fantastic way. You know, there was one other little thing. I heard Mark Bernardin talk about it on one of the podcasts, and it wasn't even his idea. Someone said it to him as well.
For a guy who says he doesn't listen to podcasts anymore, you're quoting a lot of other podcasts during this. I'm just saying.
I keep up on 3. I keep up on Fat Man on Batman, Adam Carolla, and a couple of local news shows that I'd rather not say because we will get mad at me. We'll have to talk about it off the air.
Wait, what?
Nothing.
Just go on with your point, Chris, please.
I listened to a couple of other podcasts. One of them has a conservative leaning. Another one has a liberal leaning, and that's how I get balanced news. But
that's fair.
But that's to be discussed after Star Wars.
Not at all.
Had a more
but to get to the point that I was going to say, it would have been genius had the stormtrooper, the female stormtrooper that Finn is talking to,
Phasma,
say, they were shooting. They wanted us to open fire on civilians, and we heard about you, Finn. We heard how you walked away, and that's why we walked away.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah,
that would have been a stroke of genius and elevated Finn's character to just to be at that upper echelon that he needs to be. Otherwise, he's just in this movie running around yelling Ray.
I do like.
Yeah, that's all he's doing. And Chewie. Ray and Chewie. That's all he's doing.
I do like that all the primary characters ended up having their own place to go off to. Like, Finn has this group of other deserters that it's assumed he went off and kind of joined. You know what I mean? And
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Of course.
No, just that the black woman stormtrooper that he talks to is allegedly Lando's granddaughter.
Interesting.
Because there's that whole little talk of like, where are you from? And she's just like, I don't know. He's like, well, let's figure out who you are. Let's figure out.
You got to give the proper line delivery for that because it sounded creepy as fuck when I heard it.
What's the proper line?
It's just he's such a smooth motherfucker. Anything that he says is going to sound like he's hitting on. So when he's saying to Chewie, give Leia my love, it just sounded so creepy. And then same thing, well, let's find out where you're from.
Unfortunately, that's what he's like, let's find out where you're from. Let's enjoy some nice Colt 45.
That's just Billy D. He doesn't know how to not be a smooth. That's all.
William D. Williams.
William D. Williams. You probably didn't hear that either, did you?
I did not, but holy shit! I was going through some of my old stuff, like I was going through my junk, my chest of junk, and I came across an autographed photo from Billy D to Chris.
Nice.
Billy D. All right, CJ.
Yeah. So I got that.
CJ, what were you saying?
I honestly don't remember, but I think at this point, we've beaten this thing to death. Again, and we've talked about this already, but overall, are we saying that this was a good closing to the story, to the chapter, or are we left with something too much hanging on, too much left?
Chris, you want to do it, or you want me to start first?
You can go, man. You go.
Let me put it this way. I cried at multiple times for Avengers Endgame. I did not cry once for Rise of Skywalker.
4.
You cried 4 times for Rise of Skywalker?
4 times.
I mean, I think there was a twinkle of squirtness of tear from my eye when, like of happiness, of like, it's Mark Hamill. I'm a big fan of Mark Hamill.
I had one happiness one, and it's going to sound stupid, but it just does it for me every time, and it's when you get the dark screen and it says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, before it actually kicks in. That always gets me every time.
Agree, especially for the first time. We've all experienced that. The first time we've seen a new Star Wars movie, we get this. It's never. Fuck. Let's see this is going to be awful. It's like, this is Star Wars, dude. But that being said, it could be the fact that like the Marvel films became in its own way a new Star Wars for me.
Sure.
Because we've been following these interconnected, connected films over the course of a decade to really feel for the characters and to give a fuck. So when some of them die, we are heartbroken. And for Rise of Skywalker, it's like, does anybody really give a fuck that Kylo Ren / Ben Solo is dead? No.
No, but
to borrow her, no.
There were a couple parts. See, okay, so I said 4, and that was true, but a couple of them were tied to the same thing. So, when Chewie reacts to Leia was one of them. When Chewie specifically reacts to Leia. And then again, when Maz says something like, "Rest now, princess." Like there were a couple moments tied to Leia, and then the very end, there's the double sun scene with Rey standing there with BB-8 and a double scene. It was basically a throwback to Luke standing on Tatooine so many years ago. That one got me.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I didn't cry, but like,
no, I wasn't like bawling, but
no, but like there was some. I felt more heavy-hearted. You know that feeling when you're like, I'm gonna cry, but I gotta calm down. But like with Avengers, I was a blubbering fucking little fuck.
Because that thing was. But see, again, and we've talked about this before, and I don't want to get into a long thing, but we had 10 basic consecutive years of build-up of 20-some-odd fucking movies to that moment, Right.
But that's my thing, is that I think, personally, Disney, I know you're listening because you fucking stalk everybody.
Yeah.
If you guys are going to make another franchise, spread that shit out. Fucking...
Well, right. Well, here's what I kind of want to say, because again, we've already talked about the quality of the movie itself. I will say that based on the way they ended this, I'm happy with the end of the chapter for sure. Chapter meaning the last 3 movies. And then the story as a whole, I know you said you didn't feel as it did as well. I think it did better than you did, I think. But what I think
I'm going to see it again, so I might change my opinion.
Sure. What I think it did the best, and what I'm okay with, and I know I'm fucking on an island by myself, especially in this room, is it opened the door more so for Rian Johnson's upcoming non-connected trilogy to see what he can do with Broom Boy. Because, like, I'm curious about, maybe not that kid specifically. No, hear me out. But not that kid specifically, but the
his vision.
his vision and what the Force really could be beyond midichlorians and beyond the Skywalkers. You know,
I'm fine with that. I said it many times that I would love to see a Rian Johnson trilogy, but I think, look.
No, but my point is the way that this movie ended makes that transition smoother than it would have been depending on how they ended this.
Of course, because now he can use his own characters. He can. Maybe that's where we get a whole fucking movie of Rose. Maybe now Rose is the hero of his goddamn series. I'm fine with. But Chris, I also read that I thought he is no longer doing a trilogy. I thought he's not getting that anymore.
I don't know. But if he is, I hadn't heard. So if that's true, then I'm
also supposed to be a trilogy done by the Game of Thrones guys.
Well, yeah.
Oh no, they backed out.
They backed out of that. That wasn't. Yeah, that was them.
Rian Johnson, as far as I know, it's been on again, off again, but Disney keeps putting out press releases saying, yes, Rian Johnson is creating a trilogy. Now, whether or not if that happens, because, you know, Disney puts out press releases backing their play all the time, who knows?
Right.
But just to jump in real quick about like what I thought, it's like, I think given the broken bag of glass that JJ was handed to make a movie out of, passing of Carrie Fisher, the fuck you he got from Rian Johnson.
Right.
God, the short time span he had to make this movie. Just there were so many, like it was all uphill for J.J. Abrams. And I thought he did a magnificent, like another big part is he got to bring this bird home, that a movie that's like 3 trilogies, but separated by, for 3 different generations.
Yeah.
Like how Marvel has the benefit of one story over 12 years. This one is a story that was told over 42 years. Yeah. How do you bring that fucking jumbo jet in for a landing when the landing gear is broken? He did it. And it may not be the perfect movie, but I didn't cry, but I smiled a hell of a lot during this movie. When you see Wedge, it was a nice tip of the hat to the legacy characters.
Yep.
I mean, there were so many points in this movie where I smiled and enjoyed myself. And at the end of the day, it was just a really good time. And that's really what you want in a Star Wars movie. And JJ did it for the first time for me since Return of the Jedi. And that's why I love this movie so much.
I'll give you that. I also would have liked to see the Knights of Kylo, like the Knights of Ren, actually do something.
Oh, yeah. I would have loved to have seen that expanded. Maybe that's going to be a Disney Plus series. Who knows? I mean, but I just felt coming out of this movie the way that I felt leaving Return of the Jedi. And I didn't feel that in any of the other 7 other Star Wars movies that I've seen that weren't original trilogy.
I felt that with Force Awakens. I felt the same walking out of Force Awakens as I felt about Rise of Skywalker. I'm like, that was really good. I have an interest and now my love for Star Wars came back. That's the best thing that Rise of Skywalker did is it undid what Last Jedi did. Because when I walked out of Last Jedi, I was like, that was really cool. That was really awesome. And then I thought about it. I'm like, that was some bullshit. What the fuck was that?
Yeah.
It's just like, I was really happy when I was drunk last night. Oh, the next morning, I feel like shit. What the fuck did I do? That's what Last Jedi is. It was I drank too much whiskey kind of movie. And then Rise of Skywalker was, okay, this is the aspirin and the pho I needed to fucking cure my hangover.
Yep.
So now I feel good.
CJ here with a few thank yous and to let you know how you can get in touch with and follow the show and us. Listen to us on the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else you find your podcasts. Please don't forget to rate and comment. PodAskew is a member of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Visit their website, bigheadsmedia.com, and follow them on Twitter @BigHeadsMedia. If you want to agree with or yell at us, follow Rico, me, and the show on Twitter. The show is @PodAskew, Rico is @RantsRico, and I'm @M_Blade. We want to thank logo designer and show friend Mike for his work on our wonderful logo. You can contact him for artwork via email at logomike80@gmail.com. That's logomike80@gmail.com. Thank you to Samuel Lemons for all original music on the show, especially our theme music. You can find Sam on Twitter @SamuelLemons, all one word, and his music on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Samuel-Lemons. Finally, our biggest thank you is to you, everyone, for listening. Rico and I really appreciate your time and look forward to bringing you another episode soon.
This is not going to go the way you think.
Damn it! PodAskew. PodAskew.